Okay. Oops. I accidentally got a few seconds of blank nothing on my video. I started broadcasting. Okay. I forgot to add myself first. I accidentally got a few seconds of blank nothing on my video. I started broadcasting. I accidentally got a few seconds of blank nothing on my video. I started broadcasting on my video. Oh no. Yeah, sorry.
You always wait for it.
No, what happened is I had forgotten. I left the video waiting. I left the channel open, the page open, waiting to play this video. Oh yeah, I should address the screen that I'm live streaming on as well, because I went ahead and I started the video, and I'm not address it. Address it. But yeah, I started my live stream. Just so anybody watching my live stream knows, I'm on Amy Newman's channel as well in her live stream while I'm starting this live stream. And what happened is I left on my other computer, I left a tab open with the web page for this live stream that I just started. And I didn't have it muted. I couldn't mute it because there's no way to mute it before it starts. And so I had Amy's program muted in a different tab, and so when I started this, the audio started coming out of my computer, and instead of muting the one I should have muted, I accidentally unmuted the other one, so then I had it coming through twice. So that's what happened. So yeah, that wasn't the gods, that was my error. Yeah. Oh well, yeah. I'm excessively tired, by the way, which is probably why I'm making mistakes. So, you know, if there's a god out there who's somewhat inept and wants to like trip me up, this is a great time to do that, because you know my brain's not working at full speed right now. Maybe. All right. Well, I'm gonna close out of Amy's live stream, and take care, Amy, and see you, James. Later, Sunflower. Bye, everyone. Thanks for the fun. Okay, so yeah, they're a little skeptic and ranting over there, talking about the age of the Earth. Well, I went out for a friend's birthday today. We got some pizza. I'm not even sure how old he is, and I know it's his birthday. So, yeah, and he was around when I was around when he was born. So, don't expect me to know what age the Earth is, because I don't even know his age. I mean, but yeah, I know there are people out there that think they know what the Earth's birthday is, like, you know, the exact day the Earth was created on, and the name of the person who created it, and you know, details like that, all written down by humans, you know, not by any Earth creators. Interesting how that works. But at any rate, yeah, if there's an Earth creator out there who would like to tell their story, I think that would qualify as a god. This show is called All Gods Invited, so they're welcome to join in and say something and speak for themselves. That'd be cool. Of course, non-gods are also invited, but that's not the point of the show. So I'm not pushing the whole non-gods thing, because after all, want to give the gods a chance to speak for themselves, since the theists never do that. Really, just they never do, except maybe the ones that hear gods in their head and they let the gods speak for themselves there, but then they speak for their God to other people because nobody else seems to be able to hear their God. Which, to me, makes me wonder why, they don't question whether or not that's actually a God speaking to them, as opposed to, part of their brain, voice in their head, physical neural network material, not supernatural, non-physical being. Just saying. Any rate, oh yeah, what to talk about? I'm all on my own in here. Anybody feel like joining in? I'm not sure what to say. Oh, that's right. I did have a topic on this one, didn't I? Do gods evolve? Well, I got some thoughts about that. Religions definitely evolve. We know religions evolve because, well, first off, evolution is just the process of change adding up. And, oh, I didn't put the link in. Thank you, Sunflower. Okay, well, Sunflower says he'll join, so let me grab that link and throw that in the chat here. Oh, by the way, if anybody's watching the live chat, I would encourage selecting live chat as opposed to top chat, so that you can see all of the chat, because it's slow. You're not going to miss anything because of the extra speed, unless you read really, really slowly. And there might be something that you wouldn't get to see otherwise, because for whatever reasons, YouTube decides to hide some stuff. And when there's way too much chat to keep up with, that might be a good thing, but this is kind of slow right now, so not that difficult to keep up. Any rate, did that work? I put the link there. This is on episode 4. Let me fix this thing. I can try to... Oh, that's right. I've got it on the other screen. I don't need to do that. Leave that. Go to the other computer. Click here. And just look and see. Yes, the link did show up. Okay. Oh, there he is. Showed up in there. I'm still getting used to this StreamYard.
Hey, no worries, man.
And as I mentioned earlier, I'm super tired right now.
Yeah, you got some pizza, huh?
I'm running like triple shift. Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. There were 3 slices left over. I was going to put them in the fridge. I brought them home, and I didn't do that. Let's see. Can I get them in there? From here? No. It's not going to be cooperative. Hold on just a moment. Get this tiny head of lettuce out of the way, and then I can do that. And throw that back in behind it. Okay, problem solved. So the leftover pizza don't go bad.
Right.
Yeah, we got a couple of Supreme pizzas, and one each, so a whole pizza, large pizza. That's a bit much for me right now. So yeah, 3 slices left. Not like much of it. A little bit less than half the pizza. At any rate.
Right.
Your volume is really low. Can you?
Oh, okay. I can turn
increase
it up,
it at all?
Yeah, I have control. I have control over the sensitivity of my mic. So
cool.
If that's better,
much better.
Okay, great.
Yes. I don't know how loud mine is, so I can't compare.
Yours is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hearing yours only. My, I guess you'd be doing the same thing since you're in here. Anybody watching it, hearing both of us, maybe they can let us know in the chat if one of us is a lot louder than the other. I don't think I have a way to adjust mine. If I do, I'm not sure how to do it.
No, yours is fine. Yours is fine. Don't worry about it. I mean, do you usually get like a lot of viewers, or should we wait?
Well, I don't know if there is really a usually, because this is only the 4th episode.
Oh, okay.
I've done 2 episodes per day for 2 days. So, yeah, burning the candle at both ends, in the middle besides.
Gotcha.
Trying to keep up everything else I was doing before I started the series. Plus, I was only planning on doing 1 episode of the series about every 8 days, and instead I'm on my 4th episode in 2 days.
Wow.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
some of them running like over 3 hours long.
That's interesting. Well, I have a question for you. Do you think a hot dog is a sandwich?
No, but a hot dog sandwich is a sandwich.
Okay. But you wouldn't, you even if there was a whole, let's say there was millions of people that were declaring that a hot dog was a sandwich, you probably wouldn't like spend time going on the internet and saying like hot dog's not a sandwich, like doesn't fit the definition. Like you wouldn't really care. Like you have an opinion on it, but you wouldn't spend
unless there was unless there was something more to it than that. I mean, if people were going around saying that a hot dog is a sandwich and therefore something or other, that might make the difference, depending on what the therefore is.
I mean,
if it was causing some damage to society,
yes,
yeah, it would have something.
We're getting somewhere.
That's the same thing as why I have made an issue out of pointing out that I think people are making a big mistake when they when they try to say that there's no such thing as evolution outside of biology. Now, I get where they're coming from. If you're only talking about biology or only talking about biological evolution, yes, biological evolution only happens in biology. But if you're, if you haven't specified that you're talking about biological evolution and you say evolution only happens in biology, assuming that who you're talking to will understand that you mean to say biological evolution only happens in biology, then you're making the mistake of assuming that they're narrowing the word down the same way as you are, where in reality they might not be narrowing down the word at all. And if they are narrowing it down, they might be narrowing it down in a very different way than you are, and thinking that you're saying that evolution of some non-biological kind only happens in biology, which would make no sense whatsoever. So I just think it makes more sense to to go where possible to use broader definitions of words if you don't have context to clarify. And context can be working in a laboratory, studying a specific subject, or using a word qualifier like the word biological.
Sure.
Same thing with a hot dog. Like I said, a hot dog, you could say it's a type of sausage.
Well, no, but okay. Where I was going with that, though.
But when you put it in a hot dog bun, that's a hot dog sandwich. Then you've qualified it as a type of sandwich. The same as a submarine sandwich is a type of sandwich.
Okay. Well, I can explain where I was going with that.
Yeah,
can I explain? Okay. So where I'm going with that is that, I guess the general question is, do you tend to, and this isn't just targeted at you, but just because you're the person I'm talking to now, I'll ask you, do you find yourself more interested in sort of, I guess, confronting or debating against or debunking or discussing topics that you think you're the most confident in your ability to disprove? Or do you think that it's a sort of more about a combination of, like you kind of said, the potential harm of the sentiment and how confident you are that it's wrong? For example, let's say like someone is on the street saying 2 + 2 is 5, and then the person next to them is like, was Jesus even a person that existed? Now, one of these you could probably just prove the person wrong in about, very quickly and shortly, but you might not. But you might think it's not going to do any good whether or not I prove this person wrong isn't going to change the world. However, if I can maybe, show the Jesus guy some facts, maybe we could actually make some impact on the actual world. So my question is, like, what do you gravitate more towards? Like,
well, I can give you a short answer and a long answer. You want both, or you want one or the other?
I'll take both. Honestly, yeah, I have time.
Okay. Short answer: case by case basis.
Okay.
Okay. Long answer: I prefer not to debate. I'm apparently very good at it. I never got a degree in philosophy. I did have major in philosophy for a while, and I did some debating. Never lost. Not only never lost, but nobody ever wanted to debate me a second time because I win that thoroughly. But I also would not take a position, even if the instructor insisted that we got to take whatever position we're given. I wouldn't take a position that I didn't, that wasn't my stance on something, because I'm not going to try to argue that something is the case when I think it is not the case.
That's unusual.
Yeah,
because usually people that are good at debates, usually that goes along with being able to debate positions you don't believe in. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think I probably could, but but I believe that was dishonest, and I didn't want to do something dishonest, and the instructor didn't particularly like that because it messed with the teaching technique. But they couldn't really disagree with me on it. That I had a point. And so, I don't know if I would have taken a side of debating something that I didn't believe to be true, would I have lost? And I think the answer is probably yes, because I would have conceded right off the bat.
Okay. But that's more. So that's more about like just a personal, like sort of ethical belief.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also why I gave up the philosophy major. Now, don't get me wrong, philosophy is valuable, but I found.
But eventually, philosophy will force you to sort of at least sometimes advocate on the behalf of ideas you don't believe in, and I guess you weren't comfortable doing that. So,
I wasn't comfortable with the whole idea of that the argument was more important than the truth.
Right.
In general, and I mean, to me, philosophy, the name of it, love of wisdom or love of thinking, it just makes more sense to take that in a more literal way than that, and to say, I don't want to do something unwise or the opposite of thinking. so thanks anyway, but I'll change my major.
right. Okay.
But yeah, as far as the stuff that I have ended up debating, that my debate with Kent Hovind was my first debate in a very long time. Like I said, I quit debating people. I've had plenty of people think they're debating me, and I mean, when there's been no debate agreed on, and even then, it seems like I don't even have to know that I'm debating to but but yeah, when it came to that debate with Kent, I just really felt that was an important thing, because I mean, evolution does happen. It is ubiquitous, and microevolution is a subset of evolution, just like small cars are a subset of cars. And if you say small cars are ubiquitous on the freeway, well, then cars are ubiquitous on the freeway.
Sure. Yeah, I don't particularly. I mean, personally, I don't really have a problem with evolution. I personally think that I think abiogenesis and evolution are way too often. Okay, so I think that the people
construed with each other.
Right. Exactly. So I think. Yeah, and I think that there are two separate issues there. So I think that there are people on the religious side that want to say that that their argument is basically because they don't believe in abiogenesis or because they have a problem with it, they want to throw all evolution out. But then also, to be totally fair, there's not as much of this on the evolutionist side, but there's a little bit of it. There's evolutionists that believe in evolution, but trivialize the problem of abiogenesis and
Well, it's not a problem.
Well, I guess maybe the problem's the wrong word. Like some of the unanswered questions regarding
yeah, it does tend to get trivialized. Well, part of it is just, and I don't think it's intentionally trivializing it so much as the fact that they recognize they don't have answers, and they're like, let's
well, not everyone.
Not argue about something neither one of us has answers.
But not everyone.
Creationists don't have an answer either.
But not everyone makes that. Not everyone on. And look, I made it clear.
Yeah, it is some people. Yeah.
Yeah, I made it clear. There's less of this on the sort of scientific science evolution side, but there's a little bit where they just say, hey, look, we have such concrete evidence of, evolution from complex, eukaryotic life forms that they then laterally dismiss sort of inquiries into abiogenesis. And look, that doesn't happen as often as the inverse, where the creationist throws out evolution because of their abiogenesis. There's supposed certainty that abiogenesis is unanswered, but it does still happen. And so that's really all I'm saying here is that
would you like to know the fastest way to address abiogenesis to a creationist?
Sure.
Ask them whether their God made life from non-life or from life.
Yeah, I mean the Bible pretty clearly says he made it from non-life.
There you go. That's abiogenesis done.
Well, yeah, but
that may not be the way it happened, but that gets the abiogenesis out of the way. If they believe their God created life from non-life, then abiogenesis is no longer an issue to be argued.
Well, abiogenesis
is just a question of how.
Well,
how
not so fast. Would you agree that if there was a violation of the second law of increase in entropy, as in like if entropy decreased momentarily to allow life to come from non-life, that would potentially
that doesn't violate the second law of thermodynamics. Not in any way, shape, or form. The second law of thermodynamics doesn't say that entropy can't decrease.
Well, it says, what does it say? It says that it increases over, like
in a closed system. Yeah, overall in a closed system. If you take everything into account in a closed system. So if you're talking about one life form, if you're talking about one set of chemistry that constitutes a life form, that's not everything in the system.
But I know, but if you took a screenshot of the entire system at a certain point in the system, and entropy didn't increase.
Well, think about it this way. Okay, let's say you have a planet that doesn't have life, and that planet gets life. Life starts there. Starts small. We got some negligible amount of entropy to deal with, and then it starts growing, and you get more and more and more and more and more life.
This is the naturalistic.
And life is organizing, and it's storing energy, and it's doing the opposite of what you would expect the whole system to do. But life is getting energy from the molten core of the planet. It's getting energy from the sun.
Wait, energy is not entropy.
I know, but I'm saying it is using those as sources of energy. It is taking the entropy from that, and it's storing it away in its chemistry. So what's happening is basically just shifting, from one place to another. The sun is still doing what the second law of thermodynamics says the whole system will be doing. The core of the planet is still doing what the second law of thermodynamics says the whole system will be doing. And they're much bigger than the little thin film of life on the planet that's doing the opposite.
Well, sure, but okay, let me reframe my thing here.
When you add it all up, it's still doing what the whole system should be doing.
Okay, but
and this is just an observation anyway. I mean, if it got violated, that would be a violation of something that's been observed. It would make us have to rethink a lot of stuff, but it wouldn't change the fact that evolution is still ubiquitous. It wouldn't change.
Oh, I'm not arguing it, but no, I delineated
any facts except for.
But wait, I delineated.
We have a violation of that.
I delineated evolution and abiogenesis. That was my whole first thing. But wait a second. But what I was saying here is that we can obviously observe a system where, if you look at a beach and you look at, let's say, there's a beach on Mars somewhere where all the winds just happen to create a sandcastle. Well, if you actually know about all the forces at play in the atmosphere of Mars at that area, then you could look at it and go, oh yeah, entropy was not actually decreasing because we can account for all the forces, whatever the core, whatever. But you could just have a parallel example where an intelligent robot or human manipulates things, and then in that instance, it wasn't there's the mind of the person actually manipulated the circumstances.
Yeah. Chemistry can do that too.
So do you think that an idea, the complexity of an idea in and of itself has conserves entropy? I think that's an interesting thing because you could have someone with a bad idea, right?
Not innately. I mean, ideas can have that net effect, depending what's done with the idea and what the idea is, but I don't think just innately. No. One of the reasons why it might look like ideas might innately work that way is because the kinds of ideas we're used to dealing with are the kinds of ideas produced by human brains, and human brains are the process of a long string of biological evolution through reproductive selection. A selection process. That selection process has favored, for the most part, the kind of thoughts that would work that way, that would help to keep us alive and help us to conserve energy when we need it, to not starve to death and things like that. So our thoughts are likely to be those kinds of thoughts because of the kinds of brains we have. If we make an artificial intelligence that hasn't had that kind of an evolution and doesn't have any such history behind it, any such reasons to have that kind of thoughts, I don't think we could, and I could be wrong, but I don't think we could really rightly expect the same tendencies from that kind of an intelligence.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying there. I just think that if you didn't have access to,
same goes for chemistry. That chemistry can work either way, and for that matter, the wind. I mean, you're talking about the wind building a sandcastle. I mean, sure, that seems pretty unlikely, but it's not impossible. And there's nothing in the laws of thermodynamics that says you couldn't have it happen once in some isolated case somewhere. Sure, extremely unlikely, but not an impossibility. There's nothing that would be violated by it happening one time. There's nothing that's violated by having a momentary increase, even in the whole system. Having a momentary decrease in your entropy rather than a momentary increase. It can go either way. It's just the tendency is in one direction.
Okay.
We haven't really worked out why just yet. So
here's what I'm getting at then. Okay, this is what I think is interesting then. The more an idea, for example, if someone comes up with an idea for a steam engine or anything really, anything that even decreases entropy in a local thing, right? I'm going to make an engine. I'm going to make something that decreases entropy in a little area. Wouldn't there be an inverse relationship with essentially good ideas or ideas that increase order and the overall entropy of the universe? As in, for every time there's an advancement made that seems to just vastly increase order, even if it's in a little engine or a little motor, or
it might seem that way, but it's actually not doing that.
If it's not doing that, then there is no way that the entropy, it doesn't even, then entropy is a meaningless
That's kind of like saying, you know, if you use the energy stored in a battery, you know, it looks like you're getting work from nothing. Well, no, you're not getting it from nothing. You're getting it from what went into the battery. You know,
right, but I'm saying, but an idea is how much work, if two people are standing next to each other and an idea both pops into their head, one of the guy's idea is so brilliant that it's the best, most like efficient engine of all time. The other guy's just doesn't work. Like, that's what I'm saying, is like both of these were just ideas that popped into people's heads. How do you then account for the fact that one of those little neuron firings greatly decreased entropy in a localized space, and one of them just didn't do anything? Wouldn't there have to be an inverse effect on the total entropy of the universe whenever these good ideas that seem to locally decrease entropy pop into people's heads? Like, what's the work going into that? If it's just a thought, like no work, no one manipulated a battery out of this idea. Like a guy just intuitively, how do I put these things together? It's like,
except the idea didn't do it on its own. You still have to put the physical work into it. You still have to actually construct the thing. You still have to use the actual physical materials. You still have to have a
but person A and person B, one has a brilliant idea for the most efficient engine of all time. Person B, his idea sucks. It doesn't even make sense. They both put in equal amount of labor. Person A's thing is now just absolutely as efficient as physically possible, decreasing entropy in the little engine space. Person B's doesn't work. He put in the same amount of labor to try to manipulate parts to this engine. It just doesn't work. It doesn't decrease entropy. All the friction and heat dissipates out. It sucks. It doesn't work. Now, what accounts for these are both ideas that popped into these guys' heads. One of them is just absolutely sucking the entropy, like it's decreasing it locally in that engine to an insane degree. But they were just both ideas that popped into these guys' heads. How could that be possible?
I'm not sure what you're getting at. I don't see any difficulty in it, let alone an impossibility. I'm not really sure what you're getting at as far as what you see as a difficulty there.
Well, if an idea itself doesn't have, if it's just an idea.
Well, if the idea isn't very useful, it's not likely to be propagated. You know, the ideas that tend to get propagated are the ideas that we find useful because, you know, we.
No, but I'm saying the fact that the one person's idea actually does decrease entropy locally.
Right.
So, but yet to conserve the second law of thermodynamics, a total entropy has to increase.
Okay, what is this motor running on? This hypothetical motor?
I don't know. It doesn't really. Gasoline.
Okay, so the gasoline is providing energy, there's entropy available, or negative entropy available in the gasoline to provide for the motor to be able to reverse the entropy of the.
Yeah, but person B's motor just spits the gasoline out. It doesn't actually work.
And enthalpy, that was the word I was looking for. This enthalpy in the.
But person B with the bad idea with the motor, it just spits it uses the same amount of gasoline. It just spits it out. It doesn't actually use it.
Yeah. So one of them is, you know, the very inefficient motor is increasing the entropy of the universe faster than the other.
Right. Well, but this is my question. If they were both just ideas that popped into the guys' heads, you should be able to. There should be an inverse relationship between how much local decrease in entropy an idea creates and how much total, or else there would be some sort of disconnect here. Like,
I'm really not seeing what you're getting at. I mean, in both cases, the net effect on the overall system, if it is a closed system, according to, you know, the laws of thermodynamics, would be the same. Direction, the quantity of the change would be different.
Isn't that? But that seems to be a problem.
I don't see that as a problem. I mean, the observation is a directional observation. There isn't any, to my knowledge, any math that says it has to happen this fast, you know, or anything that says it has to happen, you know, this particular quantity. it's literally just a directional observation that says, this is the direction that it tends to happen over time. And again, it's not a requirement, it's a tendency. It's only an observation of a tendency. It can be violated even in a closed system, and the tendency can be violated without violating the law, which says it's a tendency, because a temporary violation of a tendency doesn't change the tendency.
I get that. I'm just confused as to how it could not be like when we live in a world of physical particles. I'm confused as to how there could be such a thing where there's no energy difference from something analogous. For in this example, a good idea and a bad idea. Yet one result.
Ideas aren't made of energy; they're made of information.
Okay, that's probably where I'm getting tripped up in. And is that information can result in local decreases in entropy, or it can not result in anything at all, and yet yet these have no.
Again, the information is affecting how things happen in the physical world, but the information itself isn't affecting the entropy. The physical interactions are, and
that just seems like entropy
are going to be affected by the information if the information happens to have an effect on them. Like whether or not you know something, whether or not for example, whether the water is safe to drink in a certain place might affect whether or not you decide to drink that water. That has an effect on the physical thing you do, but the information itself isn't going to quench your thirst. The water will.
Well, yeah, but again, but based on what you just said, it sounds like entropy is a meaningless principle then.
It's not meaningless. No.
Wherever you measure it, it's just wherever you attempt to measure entropy, all you're doing is saying, look, I've captured a little section of the world where things seem to be ordered, and then the punchline is no. That's not ordered.
There is a whole bunch of math tied to entropy, but you're not going to find the second law of thermodynamics.
But that's what I'm saying. If there's math tied to entropy, there should be a way to inversely correlate ideas.
There might be. I don't know of one, and I don't see any reason why there should or would be. But there might be. I'm not saying there isn't. Like I said, there's a lot of math tied to entropy. I don't know all of it, but again, I'm pretty sure you're not going to find it in the second law of thermodynamics. That's basically just an observation of this thing tends to happen in this direction in a closed system.
Well, yeah,
that is a useful observation. It is a useful thing to know that there is that tendency, but is it extremely useful? I guess that depends on what you call extreme. I mean, for me, I haven't found it as such.
Well, the reason we got on this is that if there was a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, it would be at least apparently supernatural. That's kind of why we got here.
It wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. If there was an extreme ongoing violation of the second law of thermodynamics, we'd know something was up. Even then, I don't think I would look towards supernatural to try to find out what's going on. I think I would look at, what part of nature are we missing? What thing are we not detecting? Is there a black hole nearby that we?
Okay, but this is a little bit disingenuous. If you were standing,
disingenuous.
Okay,
let me explain why. Because the supernatural, by its very definition, is basically undetectable. Even if it is the supernatural, it wouldn't make much sense to go looking for the unfindable thing as an explanation. If we've got this thing going on that's messing with our science and going, hey, this is badly wrong, and it seems to be staying that way, it would make sense to start looking in the natural world where we're able to look.
Well, have you ever heard of
if we can't find the answer there, then maybe beg whatever deities that might be out there to give the answer.
Well, dark energy.
Maybe.
Like one of the most fundamental parts of our entire understanding of the universe is that there's something just called dark energy that we can't detect or see. That's the source of 80% or more of the gravity in the universe. I mean, what you just described exists.
The thing is, it hasn't actually been Yeah, whatever it is, it hasn't actually been discovered yet. What dark energy is a whole
Exactly.
other mathematics.
That sounds supernatural then.
Well, no, I wouldn't call it supernatural. It is something that it's still an unknown.
Right.
And could that unknown
we can't detect it. We can't
could
detect
that unknown be supernatural? I'd say maybe it's possible. I would, maybe it's possible, maybe it's impossible. I don't know for sure one way or the other, but I don't see any evidence of it likely being supernatural. The evidence mainly points to it is likely natural, but we don't know what it is yet.
Okay, I mean that's what. But at that point, I just say like
yeah, these are. I mean, there's okay. Let me give you a little piece of my thoughts into that because okay, we were just on an Age of the Earth discussion now over on Amy's channel, and that relates to the age of the universe. Trying to figure out how old things are, going way back. Well, one of the with the age of the Earth, of course, we can actually sample stuff on the Earth. That helps. The universe, not quite so easy. We can't grab a container full of gas from a star and bring it back here and test for radioactive isotopes or something. At this point, we don't have any way to send a spaceship to a planet orbiting another star and get a sample of its dirt or magma or whatever the case might be. So we've got limitations. But one of the things we can detect is photons, and we have something called absorption lines and emission lines in the spectrum that help us to figure out what kind of matter a particular light source is coming from, what is involved in emitting that light, and what kind of matter is absorbing some of that light on its way here and getting in the way and interfering with it. And as the distance increases, we find those absorption and emission lines to be shifted more and more and more toward the longer wavelength end of the spectrum. And we can recognize the patterns of these lines, so we know which atoms they are. We know what elements we're looking at, but they're not in the same place where they would be if we found them here. They're shifted slightly toward the red. Now, in a few rare cases, we find them shifted slightly toward the blue. And what that is if it's shifted slightly toward the blue, and I don't mean blue in the sense of the visible end, but I mean in the direction of like from the middle of the rainbow toward the blue end of the rainbow and beyond, or toward the red end and beyond. But if it's shifting toward the higher frequency, shorter wavelengths, that seems to indicate that the light source is moving toward us, and that's what's called a Doppler shift, and we can see the same thing in sound. No
offense. How did we get on this topic?
Let me go where I'm going with this, if you would.
Okay.
It's a little bit long, so please bear with me.
Go ahead.
At any rate, okay, so most of the stars we find out there, the galaxies, all kinds of stuff, they're going away from us, not toward us, based on that redshift. And the farther away they are, the faster they seem to be receding away from us. However, there is an assumption being made there, and I don't like to assume things. I think I've said that before. In fact, I'm sure I have. I don't like to assume things, but there is a sort of assumption going on in the mathematics that all of that red shift and all of that blue shift is due to the Doppler effect. I don't know that that is necessarily the case. We know some of it is. I don't know if all of it is, and that might account for some of that, dark energy, some of the dark matter effects, some of the things that are still sort of holes in the mathematics, that maybe a portion of the redshift is just light literally losing energy on its way here from somewhere else in outer space. Where does that energy go? How does it go away? I don't know. But my thoughts on the subject are, well, if a photon starts out with enough energy to have a high frequency and a short wavelength, and it gets here with enough energy to have a longer frequency, or rather a lower frequency and a longer wavelength, that's less energy than it had when it started. That energy has to have gone somewhere. Now, if you think of the photon as a wave, in the sense of like it can stretch out and be longer. You could say, well, it's the same amount of energy over a longer distance, except there's a problem with that. And that is that when you detect the photon, you detect the whole photon. It's detected as if it was a particle. So you're not getting the same amount of energy per distance for a longer distance. You're getting the photon, 1 unit. And that photon is registering as having less energy than it would have had if the same photon had been emitted from the same chemical nearby. So to me, that's indicating, I think, probably more likely that space itself is somehow taking some of that energy away. That a photon might be, not a single particle and not just a wave in nothing, but rather a sort of wave of particles, much smaller than the photon itself. And those particles literally being like particles of energy, and that along the way, some of those particles of energy are getting away and changing the frequency and the wavelength of the light. Now, again, I don't know, and I'm not trying to conjecture, and I don't want to guess, but I'm just saying there are still some things that aren't known, and the dark matter and dark energy. Those are not like cop-outs from the scientists. Sadly, some of them almost use them as if they are, but these are just shorthand ways of saying this unknown thing that we have to have a label for so we can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, okay. I don't really know where to go with that. I mean, my whole point was that, like, I was only bringing up dark energy because you said like something about like, I don't know, naturalism, and like if it's undetectable, like there's probably a natural explanation. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know yet whether or not dark energy is undetectable. It is
not fundamentally, sure.
It's undetected as far as we know so far. It
right.
may or may not be undetectable. We haven't figured out how to detect it or what we need to be looking for to detect it. Or maybe it is undetectable, or maybe it isn't a thing to be detected at all. Maybe it's actually some error in an assumption made in the mathematics is kind of my point.
Okay, sure. I mean, that's
we
all
don't
fine.
know the answer to that. And if that's the case, then it might turn out that maybe our estimated age of the universe might be off, because that's one of the big things that goes into the estimated age of the universe. But if it is off, it's not going to be off anywhere near by the factor necessary to make the universe only thousands of years old. I mean, less than 1 million year old universe just isn't even in the realm of near possibilities, no matter how you do the math. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not advocating for that.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I do want to make that clear that I don't know whether or not the age, and there are multiple methods being used, and they're all indicating the same thing. But like I said, there are certain assumptions that are being made, and those assumptions, we don't have any way to work around them, because like I said, we don't have any way that we can test matter from 1,000 or 1,000,000 or 1 billion light years away, and test it like we test matter here.
Right. And so I could bring this all back, and this is if there's even one undetectable or unobservable form of matter or energy due to the confined nature of humans and human perception. There's even one, and like we just let's say 100 years from now we realize, oh, we're never gonna know, because there's something that's existing in another dimension that humans can't observe. To me, like that's enough for me to sort of like cash in on the smugness of atheists so far. It's like, this is a personal issue for you guys. I'm sorry. Like there's enough people, I'm not calling you out, but there's enough people that are so like absolutely convicted to disprove the God notion when it seems clear to me that there might be things we're never able to tackle. And yet there's people that take it so personally that their entire identity is inextricably tied to the atheist notion. And to me, that's not
like. I can shed some light on why.
Okay, yeah, go please, by all means.
I was raised in a Christian household, so I have an idea, how some of this stuff goes down. And one of the things that happens, and if you've never been an outspoken atheist, you might not have seen this, you might not know it, but one of the things that people go through when they let the world know that they're an atheist, in other words, like for example, when somebody says says something like, well, I'll see you in church on Sunday, God bless you, and they don't want to just go like, I'll just shut up and leave that alone, because they see that as this person basically just wished me a magical incantation from what appears to be an imaginary being, and they're expecting to see me somewhere that I don't plan to go. And so if you want to be honest, you might want to tell them a little something, and then you get stuff like, well, if you don't believe in my God, then prove my God doesn't exist.
No, but okay, that's obviously people that go online and put in their Twitter bios, atheist, and like have a satanic Baphomet as their Twitter picture and are engaging in online debates nonstop, even though they're not making any money, from the online debates. Well, now it's like, pathological vanity or the search for truth. I'm not really sure.
What I just told you is like the beginning of where that starts. That's just a tiny little tip of the iceberg thing. What ends up happening is that people get pounded by theism, and in here in the USA, Christianity in
particular, I don't know,
terribly.
Atheists are not a victimized group. No, they're not.
You have no clue. If you can say that,
I do have a clue. I've looked at the data.
Atheists are the most hated group in the United States of America.
Is being hated being a victim, or is that being? No. You can handle being hated.
I'm talking about people treat them as if they're hated because they hate them. And why do they hate them?
Is violence acted out on them? No.
Why do they hate them? What have they done to be hated?
Insufferable losers?
No, because they're not talking about do you hate insufferable losers? People hate atheists more than they hate insufferable losers, because atheists question whether or not their God is real.
No, there's a lot of philosophy majors. No one hates philosophy majors. They question everything. Well, it's the atheist.
I'm telling you what I've seen, okay? And I've seen it both.
I've seen a lot too.
I've seen it both from the perspective of being an outspoken atheist, and also from the perspective of someone going to church with parents who were, very much Christian. And at the time, I didn't think of myself as anything, I didn't think of myself as atheist. I didn't believe the God story, but I mean, if anybody asked me if I believed in God, I would have said yes, because I was a little kid and I didn't know what believe in something meant. I thought, because my parents said I believe in God, therefore I believe in God. That's the answer. The same as like, somebody asks a little kid what race they are, they're going to say whatever race their parents said, because, how do they know any better? And, but I'm telling you, if you really want to understand where this is coming from, that is the answer to it, that atheists get treated terribly, not by all theists, but by some theists. Just as you mentioned, some atheists treat theists pretty terribly. There is a much larger group of theists out there who treat every atheist they can manage to find as terribly as they can manage to do.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I would agree with you on that.
To rebel against it, and they start to think of all theists as being like that, and then they start taking it out on theists in general. And I wish they wouldn't, but I do understand where they're coming from. I get it. I mean, I've had it done to me. I could easily go there myself, but I've managed not to. I ran into somebody recently who was telling me about her God, and how she thought she was a good person, and until she read in the Bible that that there are no good people, and she says she asked her God, is this true? Because I think I'm a good person. So, are you a liar? Are you lying? Or is it true that I'm not a good person? And I pointed out to her, I said, well, there are other possibilities. And she's like what? And I said, well, maybe your God doesn't really exist. And she's like, well, but I hear his voice.
All right.
But the thing is now, exactly where that went is sort of irrelevant. But the thing is, we had a conversation. Nobody was being confrontational. And at the end of it, I got off the bus. We were getting on a bus. We got on the same bus. We talked for a while. I got off the bus. She thanked me on my way off the bus. So, there was no anybody treating anybody badly. We had different points of view. And in the end, she was happy she had the discussion.
Okay. I think vegans are hated more than atheists, actually. I think vegans are like the most hated, like, dogma.
Well, not according to any survey I know of.
Really? I'm pretty sure there is a survey. I don't think
I've ever ran into anyone who hates vegans, although I have ran into some people who sort of resent vegans, but I think that is not so much hate as it is that some people get the idea that vegans don't understand, that they think vegans in general, and maybe some of them think all vegans are like, rich people that don't have to eat what they can manage to afford, that they have more choices than the rest of us, and they don't understand that, life isn't that easy for some people. So they kind of get resentful.
I'm zooming out and I'm looking at identity labels, not and their potential for, okay, is an identity label always necessarily something someone simply believes in and pins on their lapel because they believe in it? Or is it sometimes a lashing out in a sense of rebellion and a sense of like,
sometimes.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting at here. And what I'm saying is, if the God claim and the theist argument is so wrong and so ludicrous to someone, it's almost like it's to me silly that they would then make it a central part of their identity that they don't believe in it. It's like, I'm not an leprechaunist. I'm not an leprechaunist, right?
I 100% agree. And actually, I would think probably almost all, even outspoken atheists, even anti-theists, most of them would probably strongly agree with you on that.
Not Matt Dillahunty, the guy who's made literally a career out of being like basically an antagonist. The guy's contributed,
and yet I think he would still agree with what you just said.
Which is sad because the guy's done nothing. He's been spinning the tires in the mud for the past 25 years. I mean,
well, actually,
think about it.
He has a lot of people's thank him for the things he's doing because he's helping a lot of people's lives. He's making people's lives better. Yeah,
he's not. No, he's
yes, actually, he is. And if you want to deny the facts, go ahead and deny the facts. But that is a fact.
The guy's a deadbeat.
There are people whose lives are destroyed by religion who are looking for some way to help themselves. No, it's not a fallacy. This is something I know a lot of people who have gone through this kind of stuff.
I can explain to you why it's fallacy.
And they're very thankful when you help them with this kind of thing.
No, but
they can't figure it out on their own.
You don't know what the past would be like if religion never existed. This is the biggest problem that atheists have.
Neither do you.
You're right. Fair enough.
We don't know what it would be like. But
wait. I don't make an identity out of it.
But we do know what religions do now. We do. When people do some act of terrorism or something like that in the name of their God, they're not doing it in the name of, they don't believe in a God. They're doing it in the name of their God. Religion does that.
Oh, really? What do you? Oh, but okay. Yeah. This is a long conversation. But do you not?
It's a very long conversation.
Do you not think that the state of the countries that have nationalized atheism, right? I think communist China, maybe North Korea, the amount of inhumane acts that these countries commit. I mean, to simply say that theism has only been a positive factor in a barbarism and cruelty among the human species is, in my opinion, one of the biggest mistakes ever. Okay. I mean, what if humans are just fucked up that we need a God claim? You'd have to simulate.
Are you advocating dictatorship?
No, I'm asking you. You have to simulate what the world would have looked.
Question. Are you advocating dictatorship?
It's a red herring. No, I'm not.
Ruling over.
No, I'm asking you what happens to humans and human nature when there's a vacuum of a God. Do you know? Do you know for sure? or are you only analyzing it from your confined?
No, I actually do, because I'm an atheist. I don't have that.
Oh, you're one person. Yeah. What happens to a society?
Yes.
What happens to 300 million people in a country?
Okay. But you brought up a specific.
You don't know. You don't know.
You brought up a category of example. Okay, you brought up a category of example.
The only categories we have.
The category of example that you brought up is the category of governments dictating to people what they are allowed to do.
Listen to me. I'm asking you, is it possible?
Wait, no, back up. Because you brought this category up. I want to address the category you brought up.
I can address it. I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
How in any way can you expect that kind of a government to be good for the people?
I'll tell you, because
even if they were
let me answer.
This has also been done where such a government has insisted the people have to have this particular religion. It's the same thing, and the results are just as negative every single time. It doesn't matter what you're dictating to the people. Dictatorships hurt the people.
Yeah, fine, fair enough. What I'm saying is, if you're simply, if humans are just evolved monkeys, is it not at least possible?
No, we're not just evolved monkeys. We're humans.
Fine, we're humans. Is it not at least possible that the notion of a god is although in hindsight's 2020, you can pick out all the things it seems to have done wrong, it would have been worse had it not been implemented. Is that hypothetically possible to you?
Extremely improbable.
It should be, yeah. Exactly. And that to me, that's the most important
question, right?
That's the most important argument I could possibly put forth.
I'm not sure if I fully understood the question, but if I understood the question right, well, let me just paraphrase what I think you're trying to get at. Religion has done some good and it has done some bad. Well, religion is an evolving thing. It kind of takes on a life of its own. And the doctrines that are involved, sometimes they teach some good stuff and sometimes not so good. And if a religion is hurting the people too much, it can tend to die out because of it. So religions can evolve positive traits just like anything else can evolve positive traits. But overall, I would say religions have done more harm than good. So if we didn't have religions, most likely we would have had more good done than we had with them, and less harm done than we had with them.
And I think that's unfounded and crazy.
I cannot say that for sure, but I can say that from what I know, the evidence strongly indicates that to be the most likely possibility.
Fair enough. I strongly disagree, but I respect your consistency on the position. Okay. My best analogy for this would be, let's say you have an alcoholic father, okay?
But to be clear, whether or not any religion is right is a completely separate issue as to whether it does more good than harm or more harm than good.
Yes, and that's why it's interesting.
If they're teaching lies or if they're teaching things that they think are true but aren't, that's still an issue because it still interferes with progress.
That's why I'm interested in asking
harm.
Yeah, and that's why I'm interested in asking people why they go after religion, because if their only answer is, I only care about the truth, not harm, benefit, analysis, then I have to ask that person, well, then you are essentially a misanthropic genocidal maniac. If you're hyper obsessed with the truth, even if that truth...
That wouldn't be a fair assumption, because...
Well, it is.
No, because that is assuming they do care about such things and that they care about them in a negative direction.
No. If you're hyper obsessed with the truth, no matter where it leads you,
you're saying they're a homicidal, genocidal maniac. Yeah, that's saying they care about those things and they want harm to come to people.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It means they're complicit. They're complicit with the potential genocidal, misanthropic outcomes of a truth obsessed population.
Okay, and you're complicit with the same outcomes of a religious population. That does not make you a genocidal maniac.
No, you're right, but I stand by my dogma as one that doesn't promote genocide or misanthropy. Can you stand by something as simple as the truth? You don't know where the truth leads. You don't know where the truth leads you, though. It could lead you. I'm not standing by the truth as my most. It's not the most important thing to me.
Well, I'm not saying it's the most important thing to me either, but I do consider it an important thing.
That's a scary place.
I don't think it should be
to.
divorced. I don't think it should be divorced from the other things that we have to discuss, the other things that we have to look into. But I do think that the truth is an important thing for one reason, because even if something is doing good under certain circumstances rather than harm, if that thing is based on falsehood, if it's based on lies, if it's not founded in something that's real, there's a pretty good chance that can turn around, and it'll end up doing the exact opposite.
Well, it's a damn. Aren't we lucky that Christianity? Yeah, aren't we lucky that Christianity is true?
Going to continue being what reality is, regardless.
Aren't we lucky? Then aren't we damn lucky that Christianity is actually true and not based on falsehoods? I mean, that's the biggest blessing of all, right? That's actually.
Well, I don't think it is, and I don't think we're even lucky that Christianity is around.
Okay, fair enough. The analogy I'll use is if you have an alcoholic father that abuses their son or daughter or child, right? Let's say you have a history of civilization, and every single father in the civilization is an alcoholic that beats their son. Okay. And then you go, fathers are bad, right? And then you realize that if you remove the father from the household, the kid might hang around, the local gang. It's actually far worse, even though the alcoholic father. It seems like the worst possible thing, an abusive alcoholic father. What could be worse than that? And then you realize when you remove that thing, it's actually worse than if you had let that thing. It's the lesser of two evils kind of thing.
So you're saying single mothers shouldn't raise children?
No. I'm using an analogy to say that something.
Your analogy seems to have an implication in it that having a father is a necessary thing for raising a child well.
It could be. It could. I'm not saying in all instances.
But I think the statistics show that it's not.
What the statistics show that having a father is on average less beneficial.
Not a necessary thing for raising a child.
Right? Oh, well, no, it's not necessary. I'm saying it's more often beneficial than not.
Probably.
So think about religion.
And
if
somebody wants to remove all of the fathers because some of them are drunks, that would be kind of ridiculous. But if all of the fathers are drunk,
internet atheists want to remove all the religion.
If all of the fathers are abusive drunks, then maybe it would be a good thing to remove them all, because then you're changing the statistics.
No, because when you remove fathers, even if they're alcoholic drunks, they just hang out with local gang members and become criminal delinquents.
Yeah, well then you have to deal with the criminal delinquents.
And then you go, damn, I wish I had.
How to deal with them is a whole different story. But letting them abuse their children is probably not the
not letting them. You can be very critical of the alcoholic father and still say, look, guys, the state of fatherhood right now is absolutely bad, but it's not fathers are good, but just
educating and improving them would be a better way to deal with it than removing them, and in the same sense, in the same sense, if you remove them and then they become delinquents and you got to deal with that, jailing them is one way to deal with that. It's probably not the best way. Again, educating them and helping them to improve themselves is probably the better way. So rather than
I agree,
this whole remove someone or put them in jail or whatever, maybe it would just be better if society would learn to educate, to teach people the truth, so people know about life and how life is, and become better people.
What is the truth? I mean, is there not people that live happily and productive lives believing in God?
I'm not saying they can't learn some lies as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying teach them things that benefit society, that are known to be true, not things that are guesses or that are, Do
you think that someone derives personal meaning out of things that are known to be true on a societal level? Or do you think that people derive personal meaning on maybe sometimes things that are kind of not 100% on that's weird. It's like telling a kid, do you think your dad is the best dad in the world?
In fact, I know it is demonstrable that the things that we can benefit the most from are things that are known to be true.
Because those
are things that have been demonstrable to work a certain way, and to
you get personal meaning from those things. You get personal meaning in your life from 2 + 2 is 4, and the periodic table. You get personal meaning from these things.
I do, yes.
That's sad. I'm sorry, no offense.
No, it's really not.
That's extremely sad.
I understand those at a very deep level, probably a much deeper level than you understand your.
You know what love is?
Yeah.
Okay, is that the periodic table and 2 + 2 is 4 and this is how it works? Okay,
it doesn't have to be.
Right. Oh, but wait, what if you can explain away love like you can explain away God? You're going to turn.
I didn't
You're going to turn humanity into this drab, gray. Okay, you're turning humanity into a drab, gray zombie horde. Stop doing that.
If you're loving an imaginary being, you could love the periodic table just as easily, and it's real.
No, what if you just love another person, but you can't explain it? You can't rationalize it.
Better yet, because they're also real.
Okay, if someone proclaims that their God is real, like, I don't know, any theistic scientist or person that contributed to, theists generally do contribute more to society than atheists.
There are more of them. Yeah.
No, even proportionally, like charity, charity.
Oh, charity. Yeah,
charity.
You know why?
Right.
Do you know why?
Go ahead.
That has to do with the stuff they're taught, because religions are there to profit off the people. And if you teach your followers of your religion that that they should look for their own gain first and not yours, then you're not going to profit off of them as much. That's why we have these prosperity gospel preachers out there who tell people, if you want to be rich, send me all your money, you'll be rich. And the people telling them that are very rich, and they don't need
what I'm saying is,
but they do that because that's how religion fools people into giving up the good things in their life for the benefit of others. And yes, that does tend to get them to contribute more to charities.
Okay,
but something that I found in my personal experience is that atheists tend to do a lot more of the volunteer work. And they don't go around looking for credit for it. They don't.
Statistically untrue. Anyway, my only point is that
I haven't seen any statistics to go along with it one way or the other. I'm just speaking in my personal experience, and I've done a lot of volunteer work in my life.
The amount of volunteer organizations that are literally de facto religious probably outnumbers them. 99.9%. I would probably say.
There's a reason. Here in the United States, it's a huge percentage. Do you know why?
Because religious people are better than non-religious people.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely true.
No, because the government gives them an advantage for being religious.
Matt Dillahunty's literal organization has tax-exempt status. What are you saying? You can get tax-exempt status,
and they get their tax-exempt status the hard way. Religions get it the easy way because
what does that mean?
Because the United States of America hands out tax-exempt status to religious organizations.
Come on!
Even if they are doing the worst evil they could possibly do.
Oh, come on, Dad!
I'm serious.
This is. Look, any atheist organization can go ahead and get a nonprofit tax exemption. It's not that hard.
The hard way.
No.
Yeah,
the hard way.
Yeah, the hard way. Because they actually have to show that they're doing some good for the community. They actually have to show that they deserve that tax exempt status. A religion doesn't. All they have to show is that they're a religion. If they can show they're a religion,
it's the same filing. It's the same filing stat. It's the same. It's literally the exact same thing. It's the same. You file the same way.
So you're saying an atheist organization can just say I'm a religion and they'll get a tax exempt status.
Yeah, that's why they like the Satan. That's why they like the Church of Satan has that. Yeah,
that's a religion.
Exactly. You can make anything a religion.
Well, then what did you bring it up? Because I was talking about an atheist organization. That's not.
Because the atheists have access to it, but they don't. Because they don't care about other people. Because they're drab, gray hordes of zombies.
I mean, you just made my point, and you're, you don't even realize you just made my point.
No. My point is that atheists have just as much access to developing and congregating into charitable organizations on their own behest, but they don't.
Yeah, well, there are several reasons behind that, and one of the big reasons is that atheism is not an organization. It's not a religion. It's
a label for losers.
It's a label for people who don't have theism. Theism, on the other hand, is not one thing. Theism is a bunch of things, and all of those different theisms have their labels, and they have their groups, and they have their churches, and they have their organizations.
Yeah, and you and I are not a leprechaunistes, right? we don't consider that an important part of identity. We don't go online
but we
and
also don't
debunk
have
leprechaun
we
believers.
also don't have different sects of leprechaun worshipers.
I'm
And
sure you do. I'm sure you do.
We also don't have a government dishing out tax exempt status to people who believe in leprechauns. Just
Who
because
cares
they believe
if
in
they do?
leprechauns.
There's the government's dishing out tax, like tons of you know how much fraud there is that the government gives out. You're gonna get fixated on like the churches. Like, how about all the medical fraud and like the welfare fraud? You want to go after them?
Point blank. Giving a church a tax-exempt status because their religion is a violation of the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America should not be done at all, is being done. It's wrong. Churches use it for all kinds of dirty, nasty.
Oh, well, I don't even disagree with that.
And I volunteer for those churches, and I see the things they do, and I go ahead and I volunteer for them anyway, because I do think they're doing more good than harm, and I wish more people could do that, but unfortunately not everybody can get that tax-exempt status, because it is a difficult thing to get if you're not a religion.
Matt Dillahunty got it. He's the biggest loser on the face of the planet. So if he could do it,
your personal opinion.
If he could do it, anyone.
Your personal opinion is not necessarily fact.
I think it actually is.
Well, you think it is doesn't make it fact.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but I agree with you. I don't know how I feel about the tax exempt status in the first place. That wasn't the point, though. The point was that.
I just told you how it stands legally. It is illegal. It is against the constitutional law of the United States of America, and the reason why they haven't repealed it, I think, it is because in order to do so, they would have to violate that same constitutional amendment again. So it's already violated, and they're just leaving it that way because they'd have to make another violation of the Constitution in order to repeal that violation that's already there.
Okay, well, I mean, I wasn't even going after, but like I've met religious people from all walks of life, people that aren't even citizens. You mentioned your personal experience at one point. Now I'll mention mine. Religious people are so much more insanely selfless, giving, and charitable.
Do you want to know the biggest reason behind that? Because I actually know what the reason is behind that, and this is something you can look into yourself. I won't try to give you any sources for it or anything. You can look into it yourself. You can find out I'm right on your own if you want, or you can do what you want with it.
Okay.
The biggest reason why that is the case is because of the fact that religions are set up to attract that kind of person. It's not because it makes them that way. It's because that's the kind of person it's designed to attract. Religions tell people if you want to be good, you have to have a religion. Religions tell people that you're a terrible, nasty person, and the only way to fix that is to believe what we tell you to believe. That's
a good thing. It sounds like they're facilitating virtue.
No, it's not. Because
it's facilitating virtue.
Okay, like that lady I was telling you about earlier, who told me, she was doing the best she could to be a good person, and then she read in the Bible that she's not a good person, and now she doesn't believe she's a good person anymore, and she thinks she can't do any good for the world because the Bible contradicted her efforts. No, that's not a good thing. The truth is a good thing.
Well, that's not true for everyone.
The truth is, if religion was working hard to be a good person, she was a good person, whether the Bible said so or not.
Christianity facilitates virtue. Point blank, period. Atheists, for the most part, at least.
No, it attracts it. It attracts it. There's a difference.
Well, that's the same thing.
Christianity is not facilitating virtue. It attracts it, and because it attracts it, because it attracts it, and because it manages to group it together, it ends up getting all of the credit for it. But that's only because of the fact that it ended up there because it was attracted there. Meanwhile, it's depriving the virtuous people of their resources because they have to pay the church.
It's not. It's not depriving anybody of their resources.
Yes, it absolutely is.
No.
But you think tithes and offerings are something that God couldn't have produced himself?
Oh, wait. I'm not.
I mean, answer me this: could an all-powerful God make a chunk of gold the size of the moon and start dishing it out in gold blocks to churches if he really wanted them to have more money? Or is that something an all-powerful God couldn't do?
Yeah, the answer is I don't support the way that churches pressure people into tithes. That's not what I was saying. But what I'm saying,
it is something that they do. And if you look at,
I don't support that necessarily.
If you look at another demographic of what kind of people end up in religions, you'll find that very consistently, The more miserable people are, the more likely they are to be in a religion.
Bro, look at the suicide rates.
The worse their lives are, the more destitute they are, the less financial resources they have are available. Yes, there are wealthy.
No, that's
people.
Not true.
Yes, there are wealthy people who are religious, including some very wealthy preachers and very wealthy church administrators. But no, if you look at the statistics, you will find that when people are desperate, they tend to go toward religion because
people have been born into. Wait a second. People have been born into religion for how many thousands of years? People don't go towards religion; they're born into it already.
A lot of them are born into it, but that's not the only way people end up in a religion. And there are people who are born into it. There are people who are born into it whose lives go well, and they think, well, I don't need this religion anymore, and then then they let the religion.
The vast majority of people,
and the moment something goes wrong in their life, they go right back to the religion.
Vast majority
make their life worse that way.
The vast majority of people are not becoming religious for the first time because they are destitute and they were previously unreligious, and now they're saying.
Yes, I agree. Well,
yeah, that's like
disagreeing with you.
That's like
I mean.
So then, that's a weird thing to bring up. I mean,
that's why religions that have taught absolute abstinence have tended to die off because they don't get enough new congregants. Now, don't get me wrong. There have been times in history when such religions flourished because they were getting more people in by drawing people into their religion than other religions were getting in through births. So it can work both ways. It depends on how
Christianity teaches abstinence, and it's like what the biggest denomination in the world.
Catholicism. No, Christianity. If you take Catholicism out of it, Christianity is not the biggest religion in the world.
Why would you take Catholicism out of it?
Catholicism is the biggest part of Christianity.
Why would you take that out of it?
One of the reasons why Catholicism is the biggest parts of Christianity is just that, because they do teach abstinence until you're married. And they teach that you have to get married and that you have to produce babies when you're married, and you have to make your babies Catholic. They have to be born Catholic and raised Catholic, or you're not even allowed to get married. So you have to do something you're not allowed to do unless you promise to do the thing they need you to do to make more people for their church. That's why Catholicism is huge.
I'm pretty sure all Christianity teaches no sex before marriage, no?
No, not all of it.
That's not in the Bible?
Not really sure. I think it is somewhere in there. But no, not all Christianity teaches it. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that contradicts other stuff in the Bible. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that can be interpreted multiple different ways. That's why we have so many thousands of different sects of Christianity. They disagree. The vast majority of that is because they disagree on what the Bible means by what it says, or what it actually says, or which version of the Bible is the right one to be interpreting in the first place. There's a lot of disagreement about what the Bible's supposed to be teaching them. So they've got different sects of Christianity, but it's not the abstinence that's the big thing there. I think you missed the big thing. The big thing is that the abstinence is up until you get married, and that the reason for the abstinence is to encourage people to get married because people want to have sex. And when they want to have sex, they're not allowed to do so until they get married, and they have to marry Catholic, and they have to have Catholic babies, and that they have to make lots of babies because that's what the church requires of them. If they want to make it to heaven, they got to do what the church tells them to.
All right,
that's what it's all about, is producing more Catholics.
In today's episode of Bastardized Christianity, you have the last 2 minutes of whatever you just heard. That's just, I'm sorry, that's not even accurate. It's just not.
Yes, it actually is.
Catholics, for one thing, adultery and sex before marriage doesn't change. It's true the same way Catholicism and other sects of Christianity.
Like I said, it isn't the sex before marriage. That's the big thing. It's the sex after marriage with the requirement that it be for making children.
No, it literally is the big thing.
No, it's really not. It's a key part. But like I said, it's a key part because it's a way that they encourage people to get married and to marry Catholic. And if they want to marry someone who's not Catholic, they require that person become Catholic for them to get married. That's a requirement of the church. And there are Catholics who will work around that, but then their whole family tends to give them trouble over it, and it causes a lot of strife in their lives. And a lot of times, it will end up causing the marriage to break up, or it will cause them to give in and eventually get their spouse to become a Catholic and register with the church and everything. So the family will leave them alone. And I've known many people personally whose lives have been ruined by this sort of thing that Catholicism does to people. So I'm not just speaking from stuff I've read. Yeah, I've read about the stuff, but it's not just that. This is stuff I know from people's lives that it's affected.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what.
It is what it is. I mean, like I said, I'm not telling you this so you can go, okay, you're right, or no, you're wrong. I'm just telling you, you can look it up later.
I wasn't leaning towards either of those. I'm looking for the passages in the Bible that say adultery is a sin, that are the basis for.
And it really has little to do with what the Bible says, because the Catholic Church, through most of its existence, has actually discouraged its parishioners from reading the Bible. It doesn't do that anymore.
Why are you focusing on Catholicism? Why not? Let's go to
only because of the fact that you mentioned you talked about Christianity being the biggest religion, and Catholicism is the biggest part of Christianity by far. It is the vast majority of Christianity.
Well, that was just, but I think where I was going with that was,
if you want to judge Christianity as a whole on an average, you have to consider Catholicism because it is the vast majority of Christianity.
But I think the reason I brought that up was just I was juxtaposing religion in general against non-religion. I think I used Christianity,
and you use Christianity as your example because it's
the biggest one. Use Islam.
So that's why I'm And
does Islam permit? I don't know, but does Islam permit sex before marriage? Probably not. I don't know.
I'm not sure exactly. I have spoken with some Islamists about their beliefs and that sort of thing, but I've only gotten their personal beliefs. I'm not sure. Now I know Aaron Ra has been doing a study of the Quran in detail, so he probably knows. I've studied the Quran, but not nearly enough to really be sure, because the Quran is a weird kind of book. It has this thing in it where it's like it'll tell you one thing, but then it'll tell you something that contradicts that thing. But there's a rule like somewhere in the Quran that says that the things that come later override the things that come earlier. And so if you're learning the Quran, it seems like a really nice thing at first, because you haven't got to the parts where it changes its mind about a bunch of stuff and turns totally evil, and those parts are supposed to override the parts that seem so nice. So yeah, Islam is a mess. But I do remember one thing that I've been told by several Islamists about the things that they're taught that they should or shouldn't do or can or can't do. And that is, and I don't know if this is, in the Quran or if it's an official part of their religion, but it seems to be a common Islamist belief. And that is, and I've seen this also with Catholics, although Catholics won't generally admit it. It is something they tend to believe, that they can basically do anything when God's not looking. And yeah, they actually believe there's when God's not looking, which basically means God's not looking basically means that there isn't anyone around to see you, so nobody else knows, and therefore God doesn't know either, because God just knows stuff through other people. And it nobody really says it straight that way, but I mean that's really basically what it comes down to. That if you're in a room with a closed door, you're under the covers with somebody and you're doing stuff, and stuff that the Bible says or the Quran says you're not supposed to be doing in either case with the Islam or the Catholic. It's generally, as long as the people involved don't tell anybody else and nobody sees them do it, it's okay. It's just not okay to let it get out there and get known and get seen. And this part of this in the Bible is sort of exemplified by the passage that says to avoid all appearances of evil. Some people take that to the extreme of, but not evil itself, just the appearance.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. At this point, I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not. I didn't want to go too deep into the whole, biblical thing, but I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
if we're lucky, maybe maybe the God of one of those religions will show up here sometime and have a talk about it and give us their own opinion. Might be interesting. I mean,
yeah, maybe
for, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not expecting them to show up ever because I'm an atheist, but I could be wrong, and I recognize that I could be wrong. I'm giving them the opportunity because I couldn't get any theists to do it. And if they do show up, I'm not expecting it to be very fast, because even if they are real, I would think that they're probably not going to take my invitation for it. They're going to require an invitation from, the people that they have respect for. And, I don't believe they exist. So they probably don't have any respect for me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they respect me anyway. But, got my doubts about that. So, yeah. Now, episode 3, Otangelo said, that he would invite his God to, come speak for itself. Of course, he can't guarantee his God will, and I wouldn't expect him to. But, nice of him to say he'll make the invitation. I'd appreciate it if you would invite your God as well, whatever God that might be. It may be the same God. It may be a different God. I don't know. I don't expect even you would know. Probably if anyone would know, your God would know. And if your God isn't real, then even that doesn't know.
Sure. Yeah. No. I'll openly invite my God to try to speak to you or communicate with you. But I would also ask you
publicly, preferably, if you pass on that.
I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now. Yes. Consider this a public invitation for my God, the Christian God, to communicate with Donald, in a way that at least it can compel some of your existence in some way, shape, or form. And on the other side of that coin, I would actually also like to ask Donald to ask himself to think about all the decades of his life that led up to now, and to ask himself, look inwardly. Has there ever been a moment where you thought God was talking? Maybe it was him, but you said, no, that couldn't be. It couldn't be God. I don't believe in God. That's not God. How could that? Okay, so you don't have to answer it, but
No, I just did.
Maybe God already knocked. Well, maybe God already knocked.
Well,
maybe you didn't answer the door.
Keep in mind, I did mention that I was raised Christian. So as a young child, I was taught to talk to God as if God was a real person. It's kind of like if you're being taught to talk to Santa Claus when you can't see he's around, And if you talk to anyone long enough who isn't really there, you'll start getting answers. If you're young enough that you don't know the difference, you might believe that that's an external being. What I did is I confronted it at one point in time, and it didn't have any way to defend what it was. So I learned the truth. It learned the truth. It was a part of my brain talking to me.
All right. Well, if that's how you feel, like obviously that's.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Obviously, if the thing that's calling itself God, that's answering to God, when you pray and God answers, if that thing, if that thing tells you itself, okay, I'm not gonna, try to do this anymore because I'm not really God,
Well, maybe it wasn't really God then.
Exactly. No, that's not to say there isn't a real God out there.
Right.
Maybe there is. Or maybe everybody who thinks they're talking to a God is having the same thing go on that I went through. I don't know. I have no way to know. And but like I said, I am giving the gods a fair chance to come here and show us that they're not just a voice in someone's head. If your God talks to you through your head and then comes and talks to me through my head, that's not going to help the world in general. I mean, if your God really wants us to believe that it exists, the sensible way to do that would be take the invitation, come on this program, and have a conversation with humanity, not just with the inside of somebody's head.
Well, I mean, different people have different perceptions. You can't really have a simultaneous conversation with humanity without having sort of individual conversations.
Well, and that's why the live
inside.
stream, because that's a way of reaching a segment of humanity, a few individuals at a time. So it's at least a shared experience. And if someone comes on here and claims that they're a god,
Well, if
I'm
you
not
take
going to
5
assume they are, and I'm
people,
not going to assume they're not.
if 5 people are in a room, one of them speaks only French, one of them speaks only Japanese, so on and so forth, and then how are you going to have one, like, if God communicates to them each in their own language, you wouldn't say like, we don't have a sound clip of something all these people can understand. Like, that's kind of a silly thing to expect.
I mean, if God is incapable, then I can't help
It's not about being incapable. It's about just having like discrete.
Let me ask you this: what do you think personally, as far as if God were to show up and speak for itself to, say, a group of 5 people? Do you think it could do at least as good of a job of communicating personally, face to face, with those specific people as the Bible would do, communicating to those 5 specific people?
Let me think. What did you just?
Do you think your God could do at least as good of a job as the Bible? I'm not saying necessarily better, at least as good.
Yeah, of course, and I think he has in many cases. And most people are in denial. Most people have actually experienced.
If he does it here, it'll be recorded and people can watch.
No, yeah, but that's a silly thing to say. That's basically just suspending.
Why is it silly?
What is this, an episode of like Poltergeist on like Mad TV? Like you don't record God's voice on YouTube.
Why not?
Like,
is God incapable of being audible?
I'm not so sure that God would, that an audible soundbite would compel anyone of God. In fact, they might do the contrary and say, this is so stupid. Someone constructed.
Okay. So then God talking to people in the Old Testament is useless?
No, he didn't. What's the recording? There's no audio clip on YouTube.
Well, I mean, in the Old Testament, God showed himself to people. God
and they were convinced.
God talked directly with people. God carved things in stone for people. God
and they were convinced.
Interacting with the people.
Yeah,
okay, so why can't he do it now?
He is doing it now.
I'm waiting.
You're in denial. You're denying.
No, I'm not in denial. I'm waiting.
Okay, I mean that's
I see you and me in here, and I don't see any third person yet. If there was a third person, I'd add them in here, and we could find out if that's God. But not seeing.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not
I made the invitation. You've made the invitation. If your God wants to be known by people who don't know him, I mean, he might have other better ways of doing it, and if so, I'd encourage him to do that as well. But I'd still like him to take the invitation.
I'm sure that there's a lot of 12-year-olds that would tell their dad and mom, if you loved me, you would let me get a face tattoo, and then parents say, yeah, no, I'm not gonna. And the parents say, I'm not really gonna, I don't really think that would demonstrate that I love you. And the kid's like, hey, look, all you have to do is let me get this face tattoo, and then hey, look, I'm giving you.
Are you implying that my saying I would like to meet this God you say is real? And
no, you want him to come on your YouTube channel. Wait. No, not wanting to meet him, wanting to come onto your YouTube stream and speak in a way you can record and then play out.
Let me go back to what I said.
That is the equivalent of getting a face tattoo.
Let me go back to what I said earlier. If your God talked to me in my head,
how would you prove it to anyone?
How am I supposed to know that that's really your God?
But I'm not. That's a weird question. What do you mean? Like,
it's a perfectly valid question.
I don't have an answer.
How am I supposed to know that's really your God telling me it's your God, and not a part of my brain telling the rest of my brain it's your God?
Well, definitely not by recording a clip of him talking and putting it on YouTube. That's step one. That's step number one. That's step number one.
Okay, you're apparently not understanding what I'm saying.
I don't know how God would convince you. I'm not God.
Okay, but if I am to believe in your God, it's going to have to be in some way that makes sense to believe.
Not to other people, just to you.
It would not make any sense at all for me to believe a voice in my head telling me that it's your God.
No, not to other people.
Right now, I'm sleep deprived. You know, I could have something like that just from sleep deprivation. And if I did, I would question it because that's the sensible thing to do.
Okay, but none of this requires him to get a recordable clip of him talking for you to put on YouTube.
And what would it hurt?
If you're convicted by it, if you're convicted by it, you're convicted by it. Point. That's the end of it. I don't know what it would take. That's between you and God. That's between you.
What would it hurt to have evidence that your God exists?
What would it hurt for a 12-year-old parent to let him get the face tattoo to prove that they love him?
I don't see the connection there.
You're holding God hostage is what you're trying to do.
No, as far as I can tell, you believe in an imaginary God. No,
you're holding God hostage. What you're trying to do?
No,
yes.
How can I hold something hostage I believe to be imaginary? Seriously. But easily by saying you don't exist until you show me until you give me the ransom. You're asking for ransom. You're asking. God couldn't get away if I'm trying to hold him hostage. You really think you're
no? You're not holding him hostage in the sense that you're in control of him. You're asking for ransom money is what you're doing.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. You're creating
do you know the difference between an invitation and an order? Because I've given an invitation. You also
then just be patient. Then there's no problem. Okay, invitation. Then just be patient. It could take 60 years. Good luck. Don't hold your breath. Right. Don't hold your breath. Yeah,
I mean, if you want, you can encourage him to come sooner. But that's.
I don't think I have that much power over him. But yeah,
no, you don't have to have power over him. You could ask.
I did ask. Oh, no, I thought I went on the record and asked.
Yeah, you did. And like I said, if you want, you can encourage him to come sooner instead of making me wait 60 years. Hey, if he makes me wait 60 years, if I live that long, I'll be happy to have lived that long.
Yeah, and then you'll think about it and go like, damn, why did I keep thinking that voice in my head was a voice in my head and not just God? And you're like, damn, I really screwed that life up.
Except, see, the whole thing is the voice in my head isn't there anymore, and it stopped identifying itself as God a long time before it finally went away.
So what if it comes back?
Huh?
If it comes back, what is it then? Is it the same old voice, or is it God now?
Well, I don't know, and I don't know if I'll know that. I don't know if I'll know that either.
Okay,
like I said, this is. I mean, it's the same as like if somebody asks you to think of the Jack and Jill story. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Picture Jack and Jill in your head, and have them have a conversation with each other. Just, what would Jack say to Jill if he wanted to say something? You can do that in your head. Most people should be able to do that in their head. That's not God. Okay? That's not Jill. But, those are imaginary characters, and you know that. Now, if you take you take your Jack and your Jill, and you've got them having a conversation in your head, and you say, okay, I'm going to have Jack talk to God now. Okay, so you ask Jack, you let Jack ask God a question, or you let Jack pray to God, and God talks to Jack. Now, is that the real God? Wait a minute. Is that the real God, or is that the imaginary God? Because Jack is imaginary. If God is answering your imaginary friend in your head that you're having talk to Jill, and now he's talking to God, is that the real God that you imagine, or is that the imaginary God that you imagined? Because either way, you're imagining it. Either way, it's in your head, not something that you're picking up through your senses. So either way, your God is coming in through your imagination. The question is it purely imaginary, or is there something real behind it? And the only way we can know that is if we can find some way that somebody else can interact with your God. So if your God can come in here and talk with me, where people can see it's not in my head, it's not in your head, it's on the live stream, then we've accomplished it.
Okay.
So I'm inviting your God and other gods to have a chance to come and try to, do that and solve that barrier that they seem incapable of solving on their own.
Great. Okay, so about your Jack and Jill example, I would say one thing. It sounds like you're trying to anthropomorphize God, or at least you're trying to say, because you've had an inner monologue.
I'm not anthropomorphizing God. God started out anthropomorphized. The God of the Bible
let me finish here.
Anthropomorphic over time, but he started out as a walking person in the Garden of Eden.
Okay, let me finish here, though. It sounds like you're saying that because you've had an inner monologue... Because you've had an inner monologue for as long as...
Or dialogue or trialogue or whatever, yeah.
Sure, fine. And because at certain points you associated maybe some of the, so that's at certain discrete characters or different perspectives of that inner monologue or dialogue as God, that you're then saying, oh, I can't believe I thought that was God all along when it was really just something in my mind. And then you're saying, therefore, now you're laterally tossing away God. What if you thought about it? Well,
no,
okay,
you got it wrong.
Well, let me introduce to you a possibility. What if?
But just so you know, no, you got that wrong.
Okay, fine, I got that wrong. What if you, as a human being, the nature of self-awareness, consciousness, and the at least if you, whether or not you believe in will, the illusion of will, you're more or less an antenna for God, and it doesn't, like, the fact that you're experiencing the world in the subjective way that you are, you experience your own will, you experience guilt, you experience all these things. You're an antenna. There's not a single voice you could point to in your head.
The concept,
and so you don't go, oh, last Tuesday when I had that voice that told me not to, slack off during the last hour of my job. That wasn't God. That was just me. You missed. That's not what anyone's saying God is. Think of yourself as an antenna. You're receiving signals from God. God's not a voice speaking to you like a individual. He might be a person nothing else in the world besides human beings are an antenna for God. So think about it. Well, I don't know that. What I'm trying to do is convince you of my understanding of how
because I think that'd be a huge assumption to make. I mean, after all, bonobos are almost identical to humans. So
clearly, yeah. Well? It's okay. Bonobos are almost identical to humans. Yeah, when you start breaking apart their DNA, have you ever looked at this?
Not just the DNA. They're almost identical to humans in every way.
Look at the advancements humans have made.
I didn't say they're exactly identical. I said almost.
I guess that 1% or whatever you would say the differences has sure accounted for a dang lot of difference in what we've accomplished as species.
The difference, what's made that difference is language.
Oh, okay. Let's go into philosophy of the capacity for language.
Well, it is, yes, but that is what's made the difference. That we've been able to use language to share ideas with each other that we can then pass on from generation to generation, which means our knowledge and understanding. Our knowledge and understanding then takes on Lamarckian evolution, which doesn't happen in biological evolution, but is actually more powerful than Darwinian evolution. So yeah,
I have no problem with that. That's just divine.
We have a type of evolution that happens in our knowledge, in our understanding, in our cultures, in our religions, in our organizations, and all kinds of stuff. That at the core of it is our extreme linguistic abilities.
At the core of it is divine, of course. Yeah,
as a human thing.
Yeah, it's at the core of it. It's divine. Absolutely, I agree. The capacity for language.
I wouldn't call it divine. Yeah. It's a speech ability. I mean, it's our ability to communicate. That's really all it is. And if some descendant of bonobos were to develop that level of linguistic abilities, they might well surpass us.
And I guess when that does indeed happen, then I guess the theists will have a lot of work to do. But until that day,
yeah, that's true.
Humans do seem kind of special.
If you look at the fossil records, humans, the genus Homo is what is considered human, and that's not bonobos are not in the genus Homo. There are a lot of members of the genus Homo in the fossil record. There is only one subspecies of the species Homo sapien left alive. That is the remaining, as far as we know. There are no other extant members of the genus Homo. The entire genus has gone extinct except for one subspecies of one species. And it seems that quite a few of them actually had pretty good linguistic abilities and other things like that. And we're what's left. So
we're special.
Or maybe we killed each other off because we had differences of opinions on which God was real.
Still makes us special, kind of, in a way.
Kind of, yeah, but in a sort of a bad way.
I don't know. I mean, imagine Neanderthals and with Denisovans and humans who are still all warring. That sounds like it'd probably be worse than the current situation. I mean, life's pretty good for the average American citizen. They complain about it. It's really not that bad. yeah, I don't know.
And yet we're now damaging our environment to the point where we're risking our own extinction, in spite of the fact that we're nearly 8 billion people on the planet. You know, nearly 8 billion members of the human species, of this one subspecies of one species of the genus Homo, and we're risking wiping ourselves out because we're making mistakes. That if we had had other members of humanity, other members of the genus Homo available, they might have been able to point to us, point to what we're doing differently than they would, and say, "Hey, we could do this a different way."
That's bizarre, but fair enough. Anyway, I gotta actually get to bed. But this has been a really interesting conversation. I hope a lot of people actually watch this, because it was. I'm sorry if I was a little bit rude.
I appreciate that. Thank you. No, you're fine. And by the way, that diversity, which humans are lacking because of the fact that we're only one subspecies of one species, that diversity is our most valuable treasure, and most of it's gone. And we've had people attempt to get rid of more of it, and a lot of that has been encouraged by religion. Very specifically, a lot of it's been encouraged by Christianity. I mean, if you look at, for example, the Noah's Ark story, that is not just a story of genocide where somebody's killing off one race of humans. That is a story of genocide where somebody is killing off every race of humans except one. And not just every race of humans except one, but every member of even that race except for one family. That's the most extreme case of genocide that I know of ever written in any work of fact or fiction. I think it's fortunate it's probably fiction. The evidence seems to indicate that it's fiction. If that was fact, that's a really terrible thing to have happened. But regardless, it's a really terrible thing to be teaching people is in any sense ever okay. I mean, if God had a
not okay unless God commands it. It's not like
that's if God commands it, that doesn't make it good.
Yeah, but no one has ever advocated that that any person would have the authority to take such an endeavor like Noah's Ark, just like on their own volition. Like, I'm not happy with the state of the world. I'm gonna like that. Like, has there ever been?
No, but it is the role model that people are told to follow. That God is the ultimate good, and He commits the ultimate genocide. There's a bit of a conflict going on there.
Okay.
So, and I'm not saying that there isn't any good to be found in the Bible. There is. It's scattered around. As a matter of fact, if you watch on Amy's channel, it's they do it in sort of a tongue-in-cheek way, but she does have a Bible study she's doing called the Skeptic Bible Study, and on Amy Newman's channel, and
sounds like a blast.
They're studying literally the Skeptic's Annotated Bible. They make fun of some of the names and stuff like that, twist the names around and stuff, but they are actually reading the Bible and going through the stories in it and what the Bible actually has to say. But if you look at that Skeptic's Annotated Bible, it's got little icons that it shows, annotations for what parts are humorous and what parts are good stuff in the Bible and what parts are all these different categories. Well, the good stuff, if you just go to the key on that and you click like pick any book like Genesis and you click on the good stuff. I've already done this with Genesis, so I know you click on the icon for the good stuff while you're in Genesis, and it says there is no good stuff in Genesis. There's nothing good in the book of Genesis.
I disagree.
Well, again, it is someone's opinion. It is something, but if you look through it, you'll find it's not that they're not admitting. It's not that they aren't admitting there is good stuff in the Bible. There is good stuff in the Bible, and they do list where there's good stuff in the Bible where they were able to find it. But you'll find an awful lot of the books of the Bible, they've got labeled as there is no good stuff in that book of the Bible. And I don't think they're wrong. I really don't. I mean, sure, they might have missed something, here and there. It's a possibility. But for the most part, I really don't think they're wrong. I got 2 more people coming in here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hi, James. Hi.
Hey, Donald. Hey, Sunflower. How you guys doing?
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going, guys? How's the conversation? What's the topic? Let's talk about it.
Well, the subject I put on the thumb is do gods evolve? Haven't really done a lot of talking about that, but it was more of of a hint, a starting point, something to go with. And we've been talking about a bunch of different stuff. I don't know, Sunflower, I think you were getting ready to leave pretty soon, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, if either of these guys have like a burning question for me, I would stick around. Other than that, I probably am gonna head out. But like I always say, I just have a bad habit of being a little bit having like a snarky tone in my voice sometimes. But I will say, this has been actually even for me.
I think you've done well.
It's been an interesting conversation. I think you've really articulated yourself well, and I think that on top of that, people that listen to it will actually just sort of, I don't want to use the word be entertained, but they'll feel like both of us were coming just sort of from a place of how we felt. Like there clearly wasn't like any ulterior motives or agenda, and I think, like you said,
we're being sincere. I think we're both. I know I am, and I think you're being sincere as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I think you're right that people should be able to see that. I have had conversations with other people where it was pretty obvious that all they were trying to do is get the upper hand at pretty much any cost. Doesn't care. Doesn't matter whether what they're saying is true or not. And what you were saying earlier about the truth. That's one of the reasons why I said the truth does matter, because and why it matters a lot to me for just that. Because if we're ever going to find what really is most beneficial for humanity, it helps if we can communicate clearly, and to start with honest communication is the best way to do that.
Not like the Bible. Not like the Bible. Not reliable.
It's got a lot of stuff in it that doesn't seem to be that honest.
All right, and with that, I'm gonna head out. But hey, everyone, take care. It's been fun. Yeah.
Have a good night, Sunflower.
Yeah, you guys.
Thanks for being here.
You too.
Much appreciated. And thanks for inviting your god.
I'm guessing he didn't show up, but
he hasn't shown up yet, but he's been invited. Otangelo invited his god on the previous episode, so we're getting some god invitations in here from god believers. So maybe one of them will show up sometime. I ain't counting on it, ain't expecting it. It will be an interesting surprise if it does happen. There were also 2 people on episode 3 that came in and identified themselves in some way as a god. One of them was going to play a god character and changed his mind. And the other one was simply pointing out that, as a Buddhist, some Buddhists believe that everybody is everything, and therefore, that makes them all gods. So
a lot of latitude beliefs on Buddhism. It's not really dogmatic.
Yeah, well, it can be for some people, but yeah, in and of itself, it's not. It doesn't have that built into it. The same as like atheism doesn't necessarily come with humanism. Right. It tends to end up associated with it a lot, and humanism is a sort of natural branch off from atheism, because most people want to do some good in their life, and want to find a path that's beneficial to humanity. And when they don't have a religion telling them how to do that, sometimes it's nice to have some other set of at least attempts at doing that kind of thing that they can look to and say, well, they've done some of the work, so I don't have to do it all myself.
Well, coming to the question of, do gods evolve? Since I don't believe any gods exist, they wouldn't evolve. But the claims they make, God claims, certainly have evolved.
God claims certainly evolve, yes.
All the time.
And God concepts evolve.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, God claims evolved, like when one tenet or proposition becomes invalidated or, can't be believed anymore, they just rework the claims around the new consensus. So, yeah.
No. Something I don't know if I would call this disagreeing. It at least borders on disagreeing. Where you said gods don't exist, therefore they don't evolve. Mickey Mouse, hopefully they're not gonna, nobody's gonna slap a copyright thing on me for mentioning his mere name.
I don't think so.
Fictitious character like that, for example, or pick your, take your pick of any other fictitious character. There are such fictitious characters out there. They don't exist in our real world as real characters, as real entities. and yet they have evolved over time. The way they're cartoon characters, the way the cartoon is drawn has evolved in many cases. The voices have sometimes been changed from one actor to another. That's not an evolution of the voice. That's just a change, a replacement.
They're still more real than God. But Mickey Mouse is more real.
But a single voice actor can also, over time, change the way they portray the voice of a particular character. And in that sense, the voice can evolve, even if at some point in time that evolution is terminated by a switch from one voice actor to another, and then starts over with another voice actor. So there is evolution that can happen in these fictitious characters, even though they're not real.
Well, yeah, because it's not them existing. It's just the claims and the interpretations around them.
As the claims evolve, as the concepts evolve, the imaginary characters evolve as well. It's kind of like the way automobiles evolve. Automobiles, well, first off, an individual automobile evolves like it comes out the factory line looking new, and eventually it rusts and maybe has a few parts replaced and stuff like that. That's the evolution of that individual automobile. But automobiles in general, as like a population of automobiles, also evolve, but they evolve not directly but indirectly through their designs evolving. That automobile designs get updated, they get merged with other automobile designs, they get ideas from copied from one automobile design into another. They're in a sense breeding, the people, it's all humans doing it, but nonetheless there is an evolution that's going on there. And of course automobiles are real, but like I said, their evolution is secondhand, kind of like the way humans evolve because our DNA evolves.
Yeah, it's unnatural selection. It's
unnatural. It's in the case of cars, it's artificial selection, and the reason it's called artificial is because it's an artifact of humanity. So in that sense, I mean, it's still natural. Technically, it's still a part of nature. It's not supernatural selection. Maybe there's some of that going on as well. And if we ever get a god on here to talk about the supernatural who's actually had some experience with it, maybe they can tell us all about that.
I make a pretty good god, man. I make a pretty good god,
You would be a better god than Yahweh.
I think
I haven't made
worship
one,
you
but I
before I
made one
worship
once.
him.
You'd probably get the slavery answer right, so that's already.
Yeah, he couldn't be worse. He couldn't be worse than Yahweh. So.
Yeah, that would be a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at it like a literal sense, if there is any sort of literal sense of God, the biblical God, I mean, you obviously have to say that God has obviously evolved, because if you believe, as a Christian does, in the trihead or the Trinitarian belief, or all that stuff, then you have to believe, if you're one of them, that Jesus is God. And therefore, if Jesus, as God, brings a new set of commandments, then obviously God has evolved.
Well, that would be a change, not necessarily evolution in and of itself. But there are other such changes as well. Like, for example, where, God changes his mind, where God repents for having done something and, decides that was a bad idea. So all of these changes added up, that's evolution. That's the difference. If it's just a change, I wouldn't call that evolution, but any accumulation of change would be. I've got someone else wanting to come in here, so add that. I had to scroll down and find another person. Does anybody know how many people I can add in here before?
This is a bad guy.
You can add in 6 people.
Oh, so I'm almost at the limit.
You have the
is that including myself?
Standard.
I'm not 100% sure. I
Okay.
think so.
Well, I'm likely to find out sometime
This
soon.
demolished that dude is kind of.
But when that happens, if I get to the point where I can't add
down.
anyone anymore, and I find out that I can't, then I'll probably have to ask someone to volunteer to leave or something.
I'll be leaving. I'll be leaving soon, anyways.
Just in case any gods show up. Well, right now it's not necessary because there's still room for at least a 6th person. So if I know I can get at least that, right now we're okay. If we get one more,
now, if the Egyptian gods want to come in, or the Greek
Yes.
gods, or the Roman gods, or the Hindu gods, where there's thousands of them, be in trouble.
Oh yeah. I mean, if I get 1,000 gods wanting to come in here at once, I'm gonna have to ask them to wait in line or something, because what else are you gonna do? But yeah, I don't expect that's gonna happen. But if it does,
I am Horus.
deal with it best I
I
can.
am here.
No. God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, they'd have to combine into one, so then they'd only take up one spot. But
Yeah, that would be the
they could
sensible way.
take up three, but or one.
Yeah, I mean, if a pantheon can sit down at a computer together and share a keyboard, take turns on it or something, that'd be another way.
God loves.
You'd also think a god could make it 7 people or 11,
Yeah,
or he could
I had
just
thought
squeeze
I had
right
thought
in.
about that as well, and I
Right,
didn't
yeah.
mention it, but yeah, I had thought about that also. I was thinking,
Well, if you look at
depending on what their powers are,
yeah. If you look at Pantheon style gods, they only have like dominion over certain things. So
yeah.
Like
So-
Jesus feeding thousands of people with a few loaves of bread and some smelly fish.
So if Techno Zeus was to come along, then we could get that 1,000. Oh wait, that's me. Never mind.
The Techno Zeus. That's another name for Elon Musk, right?
No, that's actually a name I've gone by on the internet for decades.
I did not know that. Write
Yeah,
that down,
I'm-
Amy.
Yeah, I haven't
Take a
used it
little
much
note.
lately. It's still
Gotcha.
used a little bit, but yeah, there are people who know me from way back when who still run into me under, still call me Techno Zeus. I still get called TZ a lot, which is just short for Techno Zeus. Yeah, it's that actually came from friends teasing me, in a manner of speaking. Both, kind of trying to speak highly of me and teasing me at the same time. These were mainly,
Pinky.
theist friends who, were making fun of the fact that I was an atheist and saying, how can you not believe in gods when, on the computer you are one?
Liar, pants on fire.
Somebody's pants are on
Who
fire?
is that?
I
had
don't know.
pants one time.
A liar with his pants on fire, por supuesto.
I had
nope, somebody
pants
put
in
my pants
them
on.
until Charlie took them.
Yeah. So, how long have I been on this thing? It's 12:32 here.
2 hours.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so
still
tired.
no sign of a god, right?
Still no sign of a god.
Still no sign.
I'm
of a god.
I'm getting a headache. This this I've been pushing myself a little too hard. But yeah, gotta try.
Did you stream yesterday too?
Yeah, this is my 4th live stream, my 4th episode of this series in 2 days.
Woohoo! Chugging along.
So I'm getting a fast start. The intention was to have one episode about every 8 days. It wasn't so much a plan as just sort of an estimate of what I thought would be doable in with all the other things that I'm still trying to keep up on. And yeah, so I'm hammering myself, in a manner of speaking. Still.
KOC
Um,
is doing the same thing to himself,
Yeah.
but a little different.
Letting a lot of stuff go.
Different kind of hammering.
Hoping my health doesn't fail from things like not taking time out to
Don't worry. About
get
that.
stuff done
Put
that
it in
I
God's
need to
hands.
stay
Pray about it.
alive, like sleeping.
You do need REM sleep. Always a benefit.
Don't worry
Or
about
as
that.
people
God's
call
got
it-
it covered.
Sleep.
Well, on the other hand, I mean, if I'm sleep deprived long enough, pretty soon, sooner or later, I'll start hallucinating. Generally, that takes me over a week of no sleep. I'm not there yet. And because of the fact that I'm used to having lucid dreams, so I know what dreams from reality, it would take way longer than that before I would start mistaking the hallucinations for reality. But it still would be interesting if
For
I'm on here
deity.
sometime and I start hallucinating that
A
a god
week
has come
before
on,
you start hallucinating.
even if nobody else can see it. Yeah, at least a week. Generally 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah,
Of staying awake.
I'm a bit of an insomniac. I've gone way longer than that.
You didn't sleep at all for that amount of time?
They
or-
have medication for that. They have medication for that.
Yeah.
It's called marijuana.
Well, there are different things that you can use.
Hallelujah.
I do have somewhere around. I've got a bottle of melatonin tablets. I very rarely take them. They do help. Not a heck of a lot, but enough to take the edge off. Help me get a night's sleep if I need it badly enough. But because I'm so bad with time, a lot of times I will lose track of how long it's been since I've last slept, and that's when it can get to be dangerously long without me realizing it.
That's the thing about taking some more potent sleeping medicines is it messes with your memory, so you don't remember if you
Yeah.
took one or
Yeah.
not. So you end
And
up
I-
taking 3 or 4 of them, and you sleep for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, and I have a sort of aversion to taking medications unnecessarily. So unless I feel it's really necessary, I won't.
Send them over here. Send them our way. We'll take care of them for you.
Hey, Dak, were you asleep during your debate today?
I had a debate today.
Yesterday, the day before?
No, don't remember any debates.
Oh,
I must have been asleep
debates.
through them then.
Yeah, you must. that must be.
Did
that
I
must
win?
That must be why you missed God too.
Could be, yeah. Well, no, actually, 2 gods showed up on episode 3, so I didn't miss them. They were there.
Hey,
Oh,
Dee,
Or at least people identifying themselves as gods.
Hey,
of
Dee
some sort.
demolish Dak. Dee, I'm gonna call you Dee, man. Is that okay?
Yeah, no all-powerful gods have shown up yet. No very powerful gods have shown up yet. No supernatural gods have shown up yet. No spiritual entity gods have
What
shown
about
up
lesser
yet.
powerful gods?
Yeah, the ones that pass for humans, or for a person playing the role of a god and an acting.
Hey,
part.
Donald, did you know that you broke the Guinness World Record for the most consecutive days without sleep?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, though, I'm
Yeah.
not actually
What's the
surprised.
record,
Yes,
Cuz?
the longest recorded time without sleep is approximately 264 hours, or just over 11 consecutive days. Although it's unclear exactly how long humans can survive without sleep,
Yeah,
it
I
isn't
have
long
gone
before the
way
effects
longer
of
than that.
sleep deprivation start to show.
Of course.
After only 3 or 4 nights without sleep, you begin to hallucinate.
Yeah, it can be. It would people that are like insomniacs that tend to go 3 or 4 nights without sleep on a regular basis. They tend to build up a bit of a tolerance, and they can go a longer time without hallucinating.
3 weeks even.
Yeah, even. But different people have different amounts of tolerance, and I don't. I know the Guinness Book of World Records. They're very strict in how they record things. So like I said, I'm not surprised at all if I've actually beat the record. Probably lots of people have.
They'd have to have somebody sitting there observing Dak the whole time for like the 14 days or whatever.
There are also some things that they don't record as official records. Like for example, I've had some video game records, world records on video games that weren't recorded in the Guinness Book of World Records because at the time they let the companies record those records themselves. And so
They won't do records like the most amount of alcohol somebody can drink without dying because they don't want to encourage binge drinking.
They used to do certain kinds of eating records that they won't do anymore because they decided that it was too dangerous.
Competitive
and
eating.
they didn't want to encourage people to do dangerous things just to try to break a record. So, if somebody wants to try to memorize pi to more digits than anybody's ever done before, there might be some hazard in trying to do that as well, but there's no obvious danger to it. So, there's that at least. I mean, not
Danger from memorizing pi. I don't think so.
Not terribly likely somebody's going to get bored to death while
Dak,
working hard
Dak,
at trying to learn something.
Dak, do you have Dak, do you have any evidence to prove that you stay up for 11 or more days without sleep? Because
Nope.
that is I call bullshit.
Okay. You can do that.
Okay, so you have as much evidence. You have as much evidence for that as you claim theists do for gods.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So why are you an atheist?
Because I don't believe in any gods. I don't believe in a theos of any kind.
Okay. Why? How were you able to determine that?
Determine that I don't believe?
Correct. That was my question.
Okay. I guess by thinking about whether or not I believe and finding the answer to be no.
Okay. And you
how did you determine that there? What were your thought processes in determining there were no gods? I think he means.
Well, I try to think of a god that I believe in, and I can't think of one. So, that's pretty much it. Pretty simple.
Okay. Well, I want you to know it's really hard for me to hear that from somebody that just told me they go more than 11 days without sleeping, without hallucinating or anything like that, but then deny a God claim, which defies all logic and reason.
I didn't deny anybody's claim.
No, you do. You have. I've listened to you several times.
What claim did I deny? I mean,
I've heard you several times. You will question God claim.
Questioning, yeah.
Whoa, hold on. You will question a God claim, but especially when it comes to the Bible God, you will deny the existence of the Bible God, Jehovah.
Well, impossible gods, yeah. I would deny the existence of impossible gods.
Okay, so
as a category. Yeah,
I don't.
Not just impossible gods, impossible things. I would deny the existence of impossible things.
How do you get to determine what an impossible God is versus what a possible God is?
Well, it depends on what's impossible about it.
Well, you said it, not me.
Well, if you can identify something that's impossible about it, then it fits the category of being an impossible God. If a part of its description is something that makes it impossible, then it's an impossible God. And impossible gods are impossible things, and I don't believe impossible things exist. Now, could I be wrong? Maybe, but I don't see any evidence, to tell me that there's any likelihood that I'm wrong. So, it seems to be the best position for me to hold.
Odin said he would destroy the ice giants. There are no ice giants, therefore.
But Dak, how do you have the?
So either there weren't ice giants in the first place, or Thor kept his word.
Dak, how do you have the means or the ability to even ground that decision, that logic?
I have a brain. I use it.
Well, okay. There's people that have brains and use it that believe in all kinds of different fairy tales. That means absolutely nothing.
Yep, and they do that the same way. They have brains and they use them. I said, yep, and they do it the same way. They have brains and they use them.
Okay.
Am I using mine better than they're using theirs? I don't know, but I'm using it the best I can.
Okay, but you have I've heard you live on streams say that the Bible God does not exist. That you stated that as a fact.
Yes.
So I'm trying to get to,
yes, because the Bible's God is impossible, and impossible things.
That's what I'm trying to
impossible
ask you.
things seem unlikely to exist. Impossible things can't exist by definition, as far as I understand.
Okay, so what I'm asking you, and I don't know if you're choosing to not listen or you're not listening.
I've listened
for whatever reason, but why is it that God is not possible, but some other God is possible?
Well, I don't know that some other God is possible.
Well, you've said that you are agnostic to all these other gods, but
because I don't know, and I just verified that I don't know.
So how do you know the Christian God doesn't exist, but you don't know the others?
Because it's impossible.
Okay, you're not making any sense right now.
How is that not making any sense? I've been completely consistent.
How do you know that one is impossible and the others are possible?
I don't know that the other ones are possible.
Okay, so none of them exist.
I didn't say that.
Is there anybody else in here that hears what was just said? Am I losing my mind?
Don't think you're losing your mind. Not sure where you're going with this.
Switzerland.
Anybody else want to add something?
What I clearly asked one. You said one is impossible and the others are possible.
I didn't say the other ones are possible. I didn't say they're impossible. I didn't say they're possible. I said I don't know.
Well, that would be agnostic, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's what I said. But then you said the Christian God is impossible.
Yeah, the Bible's God. Specifically, I said the Bible's God is impossible. Yes.
Okay, that's okay. All right. So what makes that one impossible and the other ones
several of its attributes
possible or agnostic?
Again, as far as the other ones, I don't know. You know, you want to just go with the Christian's God, with the Bible's God, several of its attributes make it impossible. As for the other gods, I'd have to know what their attributes are before I could even attempt to determine whether or not any of those attributes make it impossible. And if it has one of them has attributes that make it impossible, but I don't know that that attribute makes it impossible, then I'd still be agnostic in that respect. I still wouldn't know.
Okay, so really what you've based your position on is you just have a lack of understanding of a god or many gods, and that's where you're resident, because you don't have an understanding. You're still willing to make the claim that this god doesn't make sense, so I don't believe in it.
No, I'm saying that the Bible's God is impossible.
That's what I just said.
And therefore doesn't exist because it's impossible.
Okay, but you still have not stated why it's impossible. You just said characteristics or
well, I said several of its attributes. Would you like me to name off one of its attributes that makes it impossible?
What are the criteria of a god?
You can name them off, but unless you're omniscient, it doesn't. Your opinion will be invalid until
because I'm going by what the Bible says. And if the God does not fit the description of what the Bible says, then it's not the Bible's God.
Okay, so shoot, give me your definition.
Well, for one, the Bible's God is omnipotent.
Okay.
That's an impossibility.
Oh, Donald, James is back.
Okay. Is he not in?
Sometimes my thing is Satan summons him
I see. I've
once
got
in
a
a
point
while.
there. Okay, never mind. It was another my failure to know how to operate this program right. Sorry,
No,
James.
you're just starting,
It's a learning
and
curve.
you're doing well for.
Our first couple streams were a little looking
And
up
you
on
even
Google.
Well, I'm on 4 now, so I mean, I should be an expert, right? Kidding, just kidding.
And Donald, when Ash, I don't think Ash Ketchum caught a rival as fast as you did. So like, I'm enjoying this Pokemon fight. You caught your first rival, so like, eventually.
I have a rival? Why haven't I spotted it yet?
His name is literally Demolished Dak. I mean, like,
you know what?
Demolished Dak are you my rival? I didn't know that.
He's your Gary.
you must not have noticed it because you haven't slept in 28 days.
No, it hasn't been that long. I'm not sure how long it's been, but I know it hasn't
Not
been
quite that long.
No, it's been
It's only 19 days.
probably like 3 days, maybe 4. Not sure. I'll get some sleep soon.
Okay.
Probably would be good if it's been 27 days.
What are the criteria of being a god, though, Jack?
Yeah, you can get very, very sick that way. Highly recommend avoiding it.
Yes. So that KO,
Avoid them.
he asked a great question. What would be the criteria of being a god, or deeming a god to be real? What would be the criteria?
I'm not sure. I mean, a person could deem a god to be real without any criteria at all. Lots of people do that. I mean, lots of people
But I'm
are
asking yours.
taught that a god is real at a young age, and
What's yours?
when they get older, they just assume that.
I don't care about everybody else's. What's yours?
I don't know. I haven't met one yet that that I would consider to be real.
So you don't have a criteria. Just like I know I'm married now, but let's say I was single, and I wanted to meet someone and get married. Like I have a criteria. This is what I want. I'd love to be with somebody like this. This is what you don't have a criteria. You don't have expectations. Like as many hours you spend talking about this, you don't have expectations or criteria.
Well, considering my lack of,
you're wasting many hours on here.
Considering my lack of experiences with gods in general, I don't think it would make any sense for me to have any sort of criteria or expectation for what would qualify them as a god, because I don't have any examples to go by of a god that I've actually been able to talk to or get to know and be able to set up an idea of, okay, so that's what a god is really like. I have, of course, some knowledge of what people call different things that people call gods. We had two different kinds of gods in yesterday. I would, as I mentioned on, was it yesterday? No, earlier today, this morning's episode. And what I wouldn't call them gods, by my way of thinking. But one was a character being played by someone, or that character that was going to be played that didn't get played, and the other one was a person who said that they're a god because Buddhism teaches that we're all everything, and so
it sounds like one of the criterias to being a god is that God has to speak to you.
No, I wouldn't consider that a criteria. Although, if they want me to believe they exist, that's probably a pretty good start. If they want me to believe they're a god, they wouldn't necessarily have to convince me that they exist, but they would probably have to, give me enough information about them to decide for myself whether or not I would think that qualifies as a god. And I'm not sure where I would draw the line of deciding, yeah, that sounds like a god, or no, it doesn't. But at the very least, I would think, if I'm going to call him a god, it would have to be something rather extraordinary.
Well, and that's where I always push back. There's been, whether we go to, and I know atheist, this is the cringe. But whether we look at historical text and what's been lined out there, and then everything has been validated even after the Bible has been written historically, there's been plenty of evidence that atheists just deny, because then they just say it's just circular reasoning. It's just circular. We're just going back to the Bible to prove it. It's not. It's you don't want to believe it.
Well, circular reasoning isn't really evidence.
I wasn't even done yet. I wasn't even done yet. I wasn't even done yet. Well, to you, because you want to deny it.
No, because circular reasoning isn't evidence.
You have the desire. You have the desire. You have the desire to. I wasn't done yet. I wasn't even done yet, Dak.
Okay, but nonetheless, note the sarcasm in my statement that circular reasoning is not evidence, because circular reasoning is not evidence.
I was not done yet. I was not done yet.
I know.
It's funny, and it's funny to you because, and I think it's very childish of you to laugh it off like that. Because,
well, if you listen to what I said, you'd know why I'm laughing.
Well, I would have listened to you had you paused and let me finish.
I'm offended.
You missed the laugh. You're lost.
Okay.
You can go back and watch it from the recording later if you want.
I lost.
You'll get a laugh out of it then.
I'm sure I'll lose greater things.
Okay.
But when you have documentation, and we have so many historians and philosophers that refer to this to these texts, and even outside of the text, external writings that atheists just shoo away and they push it away. And you know what? You can do that. You can do that all day long, but then you can't say I don't have evidence, because you do have evidence. You just decide on your own merit, which is cool, but you decide on your own merit to say no, I refuse that, and that's not good enough for me. And I'm throwing that out the window.
I haven't seen any evidence to refuse at all. So, you know, I mean, if you've got some, feel free to offer it.
Okay. Well, if you well, let me ask before I assume anything, because I don't know about your parents, but my parents taught me that if you assume, it makes an ass out of you and me, and I don't want to do that to either of us.
I like the way my younger brother put it better. He says if you assume, it makes an ass out of. He says if you make an assumption, that makes an ass out of you and umption, because you're not going to make an ass out of me.
Okay, however you want to split it. But
Get your drum, Amy.
I'm not going to make an ass out of everybody here. But Dak, how many times have you went through the scripture? How many times have you read the Bible? Like how well, I've heard that many times. What's too many? Like some people tell me too many.
Enough that I couldn't give you a number. It is literally too many. I've read through multiple translations. I've read through at least one Spanish translation all the way through, and a couple other Spanish translations most of the way through.
Please.
I've read as much of it as I can in a few other languages.
Please, please, Everett. I want you to understand that when you say that to me, as much as I want to take you on your word, you're the same guy that just told us that you're going on like.
I'm not asking you to take anything on my word.
20 some days.
All I can do is answer.
Well, I know, but the thing is, when you're having a conversation with somebody, you want to take them at their word, at their merit, right? Or
then you choose whether or not to do that.
Okay,
I mean that's your call, because I don't have any stake in it one way or the other.
No, I know, and that's the problem. That's the problem with atheists that take the position that you do. It's lazy. It's lazy. You don't want to choose one way or the other. You don't want to go on. And as soon as you're confronted with real life arguments, it's like, well, no, I'm really not. I'm not invested.
Then if the atheist is being lazy, answer me this then. If the atheist is being lazy, why is it the atheist that's been in here for hours, trying to get a god to show up and actually speak to them, when it should be the theists inviting their gods to come and have these online conversations?
Again, that argument there comes with the fact that if there is a god, it seems like a criteria that god must come speak to you.
No, it just seems like a sensible way for a god that wants to be believed in to get believed in.
God talking to you though, if you haven't slept in 28 days or so.
What was that?
How do you know that there's not a God trying to speak with you if you haven't slept in 20 plus days?
It hasn't been anywhere near that long. No, I was talking about the rare occasion when I go that long without sleep, and that's in a life that's been over 50 years long. So I mean it is a very rare thing to go anywhere near that kind of length of time without sleeping. No, this
you might have missed your opportunity.
I'm sleep deprived right now.
So you saying that if a God came to you within those 28 to 35 days you went without sleep?
I've been probably a week with very little sleep, but I'm not sure exactly how many days with no sleep at this point.
What if we're just brains and vats and fizzing soda?
Yes. What if we're just fizzing soda?
See, it's all making sense now.
That would make no sense whatsoever, but still,
you're not really sleeping. It's just the
how do you know you didn't?
It's a useless valid question, but it's valid. What's that?
How do you know you didn't forget that a god visited you and you didn't sleep for 20 plus days?
Well, I don't.
If you're hallucinating,
I don't, and I'm not too terribly worried about it either, because I mean, if a god has shown up and spoken to me on one of these, it'll be there for other people to watch, and service to society.
No,
that's worth a little sleep deprivation on my part.
No, I mean like in one of these different various instances where you didn't sleep for more than 25 days. Like, what if a god came to you?
But it is that absolute, and not all. Just so I can make this clear, not all atheists, but some atheists, that arrogant position, that arrogant claim. Well, if God knew what I wanted and what I needed, he would show up right now, and he would be here right now. Because I'm just
terribly presumptuous.
Hold on. But that's what you're alluding to.
No, I'm not.
Especially no.
Wait. You just said
no.
You just said
hold on.
some
Let me finish.
atheists. You're talking about me because I didn't do that.
Yeah. Whoa. No. Okay. So let me finish, and then I'll call you on the carpet, and we'll be all the way real. We'll be all the way real.
Because I didn't do that.
Hold on.
Me.
Hold on. So
Yahweh.
that would be like somebody
Odin.
hit me up and said, "Hey, Demolish Deck, I need you to be here right now for this. And if you aren't here for this, then that means this shit didn't happen, or it's not real, or whatever." And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't just come on your beck and call. Like that's not what I do. That's not what I'm ever going to do. So what I've heard you say, Dak, on several streams is, hey, we just opened up this platform, and as soon as this little God wants to show up and he wants to talk and he wants to show himself, we're all ready and we're all here to hear himself talk, and he can show up and talk if he wants to. So you did that, Dak. You have done that many.
I don't think that's anywhere near an exact quote, but it's close enough. Okay. Close enough.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm making. It's whether it's a God or a human being.
If a God wants to show up, they're welcome to do that. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Even a human, we don't come on your anybody's beck and call.
Well, I'm not asking anyone to.
Occasionally, but
I've made invitations, and some people have shown up for those invitations. A couple of entities identifying themselves as gods have shown up. Not real convincing in the whole, powerful God.
They did call up when you asked for them, though. I mean, when they came, when you asked for them, I think that,
Well, I'm not so much asking. I'm just, leaving the invitation open.
Well, but would you, if we're all being just frank right now, would you not agree with me that the way you present that question is not a little presumptuous and arrogant on your part? That if there is a God and he wants to show up right now and talk to us, he'll come to the stream and talk to us.
I'm not presuming any such thing.
Stream. At this point, I am here.
What I'm thinking is it would make sense to me for God to do such a thing. And so I'm giving them the opportunity. If they'd like to do it, they can. They have that choice. And if they disagree with me and they don't think this is a good way for them to make themselves known or to show people that they're real, well, then, that's their call to make. They don't have to agree.
Seek matrimony and patronage from the citizens of this stream.
What?
For the lowly payment of $19.99, you can buy me as your God. Then, only
Coach,
then,
I'm doing a God infomercial.
Shall I, do cool things for you guys. But as of right now, I am a God because I'm here at your beck and call.
Just a disclaimer for YouTube's sake, that was not an actual advertisement.
But if you guys want to pay me, that's cool.
But was it an actual God?
Not as far as I can tell. Don't know.
I haven't slept in 34 days. I don't even know who I am.
Odin took over his body.
I'm also
is talking
just to be clear. I'm also not terribly worried about whether or not I can tell whether or not someone coming on claiming to be a god actually is. If someone comes on claiming to be a god or saying they want to speak on behalf of a god, I'll hear them out, talk with them, have a conversation, and draw what conclusions I draw, learn what things I learn. Maybe teach them something, maybe not teach them anything. It'll be what it'll be. And if somebody else gets something positive out of it, great. If not, that's sad, but that's life. I'm doing a live stream program, giving gods an opportunity to come and speak for themselves if they choose to, and hopefully, do a little bit of entertaining and educating in the process, and try to make the world a little better place.
Okay.
Did you ever hear from anyone about that debate challenge about the chicken and the egg? Anyone ever?
No, haven't gotten an answer back on that from anybody yet. if any of the gods out there that have been invited, which is all of them, of course, although I don't know how to get invitations to all of them, so that's why I'm asking other people to pass
How
on
many times in your
invitations.
life?
Amy will hand it out.
How many times in your life
if
have
any
you
of them want to
sacrificed
debate me and
enough
try to
goats
say
to
that, what's that?
How many times in your life have you sacrificed enough goats? Your livestock. How many times?
I haven't. I've never had a goat.
Ah.
And if I did, I wouldn't sacrifice it because that wouldn't be fair to the goat.
So Dak, real question: if you've given all of these invitations out to all of these gods,
well, I'm trying to. I mean, I don't know how many have reached them, but I'm doing the best I can.
For however many times you've done it, and you've sent all of them out, and none of them have shown up, right? None of them came to the rescue. None of them showed up to do anything.
As far as I can tell.
Why, Dak? Why do you continue to stream? Why do you continue to question? Why do you
the right thing to do?
But why? If none of them ever show up, if none of them are real,
maybe they were busy.
Because what it tells me is you still have a curiosity. What it tells me is you still think that there's a curiosity. I think that you won't admit it, you won't say it, but I think you have this thing that's like I actually think that this is real. I just haven't found what I need yet to connect the dots, or else you wouldn't have anything to do with it. Just like once like for me.
Well, let me speak to that.
Hold on, I'm almost done.
Right.
and I'll shut up. Just like for me, I was a trained athlete, played all state sports, and there came a time where it's like it didn't matter to me. What's that?
I said that's a lot of states.
I said all state. When I meant all states, like multiple sports.
Okay.
Sorry, multiple sports, all state. And there came a time where it's like this just doesn't matter to me anymore. Like it's not real to like I don't connect with it anymore. I'm good. And now I don't watch sports. I don't have anything to do with sports. I have no interest, right? And I don't engage in it, like zero. So when somebody engages in something like this, to me, it says that you still have this interest because you're involved because your interest is piqued. Because you think it's there, you're just you're trying to find that good reason to believe in it. Not that you don't believe in it. You're just trying to find that good reason to believe in it.
Well, I don't have a good reason to believe or to disbelieve in the vast majority of gods that have been believed in. I have a good reason to disbelieve in the Bible's God, and that is the Bible's God is impossible. But there's a whole lot of other gods out there that I have no good reason to believe or disbelieve in. And, I think it would be doing a service to humanity if I could find and leave available for other people to find good reasons to believe in any real gods and or disbelieve in any fake gods or imaginary gods. And I like to do things for humanity. So there's that interest, and also yes, there's some curiosity involved, not so much necessarily curiosity of how much reality is in it. I think there is some reality in some of the God beliefs people have, or some of the beliefs surrounding gods that people have, and some of the claims that they make. There is some reality there. It tends to apparently be buried in a lot of stuff that's not real. But I have an interest in both finding, what the reality is and what, how to dig it out of, whatever it's buried in that isn't real. And also, just in getting to know why people believe the things they believe, why they believe in certain gods, what evidence they have, or why they would believe without evidence or against evidence. And what?
But if you don't believe,
what makes humanity tick? I mean, how? And again, the main goal there being to improve human society, make a better world for our future. And if humanity makes itself go extinct, maybe you leave a little something from humanity behind that might help some other thinking beings that come along and find what we left behind.
But if you don't believe, why put all that attention, all the attention to it? Because normally when you don't give a certain thing attention, it goes away, it disappears, and the more attention you apply to
your answer. There's your answer. You just answered it.
No, I didn't answer anything.
Yeah, you did. You said normally if you don't put attention to it, it goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it isn't going away. There's your answer.
Well, because you keep putting attention to it.
No, it isn't going away. It isn't going to go away, even if I don't give it any attention at all. It's not going away, not anytime soon. And if at any point in time it looks like it probably will be going away soon, I will probably choose to leave it alone to encourage it going away by not adding any fuel to the remaining bit of spark.
Okay,
but in the meantime, it can be interesting. So why not?
I will say, on the opposite side of the conversation than you, the Pew Research results would say that you're absolutely incorrect with what you said. It is starting to go away, which
No, I didn't say it isn't starting to go away. I said it isn't going away yet. Yeah, it is starting to. It is working its way in that direction, and I might give it a nudge or two to help it along in that respect.
Help God out. Give him a hand.
Yeah, help God out. All the way out.
What if God
preferably
came so fast that now they need marriage counseling?
But if there is a good God out there that's real and would like to be believed in and like to do nice things for humanity, then I'd prefer we all find that out and we can get that God's help. And but on the other hand, if maybe there's some aliens from another solar system, another star system somewhere that might intercept our television programs or something and go, hey, these people, they believe in this kind of stuff and we could pass for one of their gods, if something like that comes along and wants to take advantage of us, I'd also prefer that we would be ready for that sort of thing and be familiar enough with the idea of actually addressing things, entities claiming to be a god, to be able to make a reasonable assessment of, are they really gods or aren't they? Are they what they claim to be or not? And if they're not what they claim to be, then what really are they? And what can we do with what seems to be the reality that we're facing?
I'm still trying to figure out what the criteria is in becoming a god, because does that just mean you're not normal? Does that mean you're not a normal human?
Well, that's
mean
part
you
of what
have superhuman attributes. Is that a thing?
Well, that's part of what this series is about. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll use something like that as a name for an upcoming episode. It'd probably not be a bad starting topic of what makes something a god.
Like superhuman
what qualifies
attributes?
as being a god. I don't know. Like I said, I would expect at the very least, if I was going to consider something a god, I would expect it should be extraordinary.
I would say that
way.
after 28 days of sleep, I would be like, I am a god. Like, I am God of the earth, and I've now completed my reign. And at this point, that anyone who doesn't choose to believe that I'm God after 30 days of sleep or 30 days of no sleep, then that's on them. But if they don't,
you're gonna send them to hell. Or?
And just
if you look at it, if you look at it from multiple, okay, I'll let you go ahead. Go ahead.
Medically, going 23, 4, 5, 6, 7 days without sleep is number one, is not normal, and I have been hospitalized by it. It's been a long time, but I have been hospitalized by it. I have, it's gotten that bad. Not in a very long time, and I'm a lot more careful now because of that. Because I know that if I'm not careful, it can have serious health consequences.
Cut back on the coffee, man.
But
actually, I rarely drink coffee at all.
But what's a long time though? What's a long time? Like what? Like
I don't know.
Are we talking about humanly long time? We talk about eternity long time. What's a long time?
At least 2 decades. I'm not sure how much longer than that, but at least 2 decades.
That's human years, right? Human years.
Well, Earth years.
Not God
Earth,
years.
Earth decades. Yeah.
God years go backwards.
I would not know.
That means lunch won't be until yesterday.
Yeah. Well, my parents had a print shop years back. Once in a while, we'd get a customer who'd come in, say
what's a print shop?
Print shop. They printed stuff. Like
Tell the audience
T-shirts,
what a print
license
shop
plates,
is.
bumper stickers, all kinds of stuff. Flyers, raffle tickets. I mean,
Bibles.
Pretty much anything. They didn't print Bibles, and
Hallelujah.
yeah, they I don't think they were ever asked to print a Bible. I don't know why that would be, but I'm pretty sure that
But
nobody
can I
ever asked
ask
them to
you,
print a Bible.
Donald?
I suppose because there were already a lot of companies doing it.
Have they ever printed a biffle?
Don't know.
Skeptic sanitary.
But no, what I was gonna say about the whole, like lunch being served yesterday. Once in a while, we'd get a customer who'd come in and say, like, here's what they want, and they want it yesterday. And I'd tell them, well, come in yesterday, and I'll have it for you.
Thank you. He's here all night, ladies and gentlemen. Come on.
Yeah.
Tip your waitress.
Yes, but not too far because you'll fall.
How long do you think
Tip it.
somebody can sleep? How long? What's the longest you ever slept for?
I don't know. I have a hard time keeping track of time when I'm awake. I'm guessing I have an even harder time keeping track of it when I'm asleep.
You haven't went to sleep on, say, I don't know, Monday and woke up a month later?
It's extremely unlikely because I tend not to sleep for very long. I'm
like
a bit of a light
hibernation.
sleeper. I'm a bit of a light sleeper. I
He
tend
doesn't
to be
hibernate
woken
in the
up quite
winter.
easily. But about that, I did have a time when I was living in a house with no heat for a while. And I finally got the heat turned on, and then I ended up kicked out right after I got the heat and the water and everything turned on. Ended up living on the streets.
They threw you out right after you got the heat hooked up?
Yeah, right. The day the water got hooked up is the day I got kicked out, and they kicked me out for not having any running water.
That sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks. That was in Upper Michigan, where it gets like 40 degrees below zero outdoors in the winter. So it was really cold. And before I got the heat turned on there, which I did have the heat on for a little while before
You
I got
hibernated?
water.
Did you hibernate?
You have to get the water. You have to get the heat on before you turn the water on. The pipes will freeze and bust. But I did kind of hibernate. I wouldn't exactly call it hibernating. I was going to a local college at the time, and I would say I got better sleep those nights in the cold than I've probably ever gotten otherwise. It was uncomfortable, but I did sleep well.
You didn't get hypothermia or anything?
Liar.
Probably
pants on
did.
fire.
I probably did. I've actually had severe hypothermia. I had one time I went to draw blood and not draw blood, but to give blood donation, and they wouldn't let me because my body temperature was reading below the freezing point of water.
You got frostbite? Did you have frostbite?
No frostbite. No.
Oh, the blood was
apparently wasn't below the freezing
frozen,
point of me.
Yeah,
I think I've come to the conclusion. I think I figured it out.
If the blood was frozen, they'd have a hard time taking it out.
Yeah, well, the blood wasn't
Okay.
frozen, but the thermometers. The thermometer read me. The thermometer read me at I think it was 30 degrees or 20, 29, 28, something like that. It was barely below freezing, and they took my temperature again and again and again, and basically the first time. They went and they talked to somebody, and they came back and they threw the thermometer away, and they used another thermometer.
I was gonna say, how'd they take your temperature?
It was oral, if I recall correctly.
Usually at that time they'll do rectal.
I'm sorry.
That would have been terribly inconvenient because they took my temperature repeatedly. So if it had been rectal, that would have been very bothersome.
Nurse Amy will be in to assist you.
But yeah, they were throwing away thermometers. they thought they must have had a bad batch of thermometers, and that they were like the
Help
whole
the man
batch was
out,
bad.
Amy.
But then they were writing down the different numbers they got, and they when they looked back at it and they realized that the numbers were getting higher, they finally figured it out that I must actually be that cold.
Oh, there's ways to see.
What is it like,
There's ways to
Mr. Freeze from Batman? Who is that guy? The Penguin, or?
I did get frostbite when I was very young, and I don't know, but I think that something in my genetics must have triggered some body chemistry thing that protected me from the cold after that. Was probably why I never got frostbite after.
Look. I know I'm only.
I did get frostbite when I was very young.
I think
lost a piece of this ear and most of the feeling in my fingers.
I think I'm the only theist on here right now. But
No, KO is a theist.
This dude just told us just this evening that he goes 20-something days without sleep, and he's on here highly functioning, having.
I don't think I actually said 20-something days. I did say something.
I'm pretty sure you
over.
Said
I think I said something about weeks, a week or two, maybe 3 weeks. I'm not
4
sure.
weeks.
I'm pretty sure.
I might have said something like that. I'm not sure.
And that's what I'm saying. But
if I said 4 weeks, I'm not sure if that's accurate or not.
That's probably further proving my point.
At least 2 or 3.
Okay.
But again, very, very rarely.
Whatever. But then is now making claims that his body temperature was like into the freezing level.
Oh, I've got more unbelievable stuff about my life than that. And
I'm sure you did. Listening to you, I'm sure you do. And guess what? You probably have no evidence.
And I have documentation.
No,
I have documentation. I have evidence for stuff that's more unbelievable than any of that in my life.
I want to see that your body temperature went below freezing.
Yeah, that I have no evidence of.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I didn't think so.
I suppose looking back on it, it would have been cool to just get somebody to like write something up and give me something. But even then,
that
really prove anything.
That would have been real cool. That'd have been
it really though. It wouldn't have proven anything. I mean, anybody.
I haven't figured out. I haven't figured out. I haven't figured out. I haven't all figured out.
Been cool.
I haven't figured out.
At the time, I didn't think about that.
Everybody stop.
I actually get it.
Hold on.
I actually get it. What
I thought about is it was sad and like this blood.
Really quick.
Actually. All right.
If your body temperature goes below freezing,
hold on.
You're dead. You're dead.
Nope, not true.
You're dead.
Nope, not true.
No. Okay. Well, it's 4 in the morning. I won't do it. My dad's a mortician. I'll call him right now. But it's 4 in the morning. You're dead at that point.
Nope, not true.
Yep. Well, you can say it's not true.
You can call him and you can ask him about that. As a matter of fact, severe hypothermia is one thing that they will avoid declaring someone dead when they're in a state of until they've warmed up enough to find out whether or not they're still alive.
No, that's not what you.
You also might want to look up cryogenics.
Your story.
You're not right about that.
Your stories then are not consistent because that's not how you explained it. You explained it as you were in that position for an extended period of time.
Yeah. Well, no, not extended. I ran there, and when I got there, I was that cold because I had ran there in the cold. But then I was indoors, and they were taking my temperature, and my temperature was going up.
Can I have a moment?
Go ahead.
Can you freeze to death?
Huh?
Hold on. Let me ask this question real quick. Give me 1 sec. Can you freeze to death?
According to the hiking
I don't know. I'd rather not.
Humans freeze to death
You're
when
asking
their
someone
internal
else.
body temperature drops below 70 degrees. It's possible to freeze to death in 40-degree temperatures, but that's rare.
It says when your internal body temperature drops below 70 degrees, you freeze to death.
It says you can.
No, it says humans freeze to death when their internal body temperature drops below 70 degrees.
Wait. Check its exact
it's
wording
direct.
again.
There is no probability there, though. It literally says humans freeze to death when their internal body temperature drops below 70 degrees.
I don't know what kind of authority it is that you think you've just found there, but you might want to look up what cryogenics is.
Wait. Is Dak, are you God? Are you trolling us? You're doing
I
this
think
whole
Dak
thing
is
to be
God.
our
That's
God
literally what
reveal.
I've been getting to. I think Dak might be God.
Seriously, you might want to look up cryogenics.
Dak.
It's been Dak all along. Come on, people.
This is from Live Science.
This cannot be
Another
real
one's
life.
from Quora, another one's from the Hiking Authority. New York
No,
Post.
this is me on a live stream. I should have ended a while ago, actually.
BBC.
Yeah, it's turned into a little bit of a dumpster fire towards the end, but we're always down for a good dumpster fire.
Well, yeah, no, dumpster fire would have been nice when I was that cold, I suppose. But the funny thing about it, though,
that's true.
the really funny thing about it, though, is I actually didn't feel cold at the time. My skin stung a little bit, and I actually felt kind of hot. It was a little weird.
No,
I really
just,
actually
just,
didn't
just
feel
like just
cold.
like you're
Hypothermia.
And
just
I
like-
was
just
and
like
I
you're
was
approaching
fine.
a
I
month,
mean,
just like you're approaching a month without sleep, and you're just perfectly.
no,
fucking fine.
no. And I'm getting that long without sleep. I am nowhere near fine. I'm not doing
What's
fine
the
now,
what's
and
the
I'm nowhere
hottest you
near
ever
that long
been?
without sleep.
What's the hottest you ever been?
I don't know, but I don't know, but I have crossed the equator on foot on a black tar road in some pretty high temperatures.
We're at
What kind of temperatures though? Did you like?
I don't-
Did you,
I don't know. I
300.
didn't have a thermometer with me. Very,
300.
very uncomfortably
Blood boil?
hot.
what part of the equator?
Not sure. Ecuador, I think. Central America.
I think is it? Didn't you say that's where you read the Bible in Middle Eastern or something like that?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
What
thought-
were you
I
doing
could've
down
sworn
in
you said
Ecuador?
it.
Like a movie or a movie
No.
get set or
Passing through.
vacation? Okay.
Just passing through. Just walking across countries, taking rides when I can get them.
Do you know if your blood boiled?
I don't know, but I would doubt it because I don't think I would have survived that.
But
I mean,
oh my god,
blood boiling. I mean, water boiling is like 100 degrees
212
Celsius,
degrees
212 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it would
What's that?
boil at a lower.
I
It'd probably boil at a slightly lower temperature. It was mixed
I
in
think
with the
that
fucking
only
blood.
works for let's go with
But-
Zoe.
Yeah, with blood, I would think would probably boil even lower than that, but it would cook the stuff in it.
Probably
before it would
depending on
boil.
elevation, like it would boil at a lower, at a higher elevation. So.
Well, there's that too,
Like, me about to have
if
a
I could just
seizure.
have a second,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Elevation would make a difference, but
Yeah.
yeah, either way, I don't think I'd survive it. Now, I
Very
suppose
doubtful.
if you consider like the bends a form of boiling, then I suppose people have been through that and survived.
But
That's not really their blood boiling so much as it is
But
What about
gases
big
in their
butts?
blood coming out of solution.
Out of gaseous form, yeah.
Yeah, well, back
Come
into
out
gaseous
of big
form.
butts. See, it all comes back around.
What's your everything, Amy? What's your universal? Your
My universal is the eternal butthole, of course. That was what I tried to. I would like to explain this to Darth Dawkins one day.
that's your god, your butthole.
Yes, it's the eternal butthole in the sky. The eternal, but
Well,
it's
that's-
now it's not a conscious eternal butthole, mind you. It's just an eternal butthole.
Wasn't
wasn't
that the same one that somebody was looking at God's backside in the Bible?
But
Yeah.
if I could just have a word, but
Or they just resemble each other?
if I could just have a word,
Okay, which
I'm not
word?
sure that science, like why aren't we comparing like the boiling level of blood to water, but we don't compare like the freezing level of water with blood.
Well, I would.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
I mean, I did mention earlier, that just being below the freezing point of water doesn't mean you're dead. Probably dead. Yeah, that's kind of likely. But I've lived through it, so I know it's not a necessity that you would be dead.
It's what water freezes at 32 degrees, so that's pretty cold.
Yeah.
But
32 degrees Fahrenheit.
Water boils.
Yeah, Fahrenheit. We're
yeah.
unscientific.
And I have had my
212
body
to
temperature
900.
read below that. Now, it is possible that my internal body temperature wasn't as cold as the thermometer originally read it, because since I had just come in from outside running, breathing in the cold air, going through my mouth, through my lungs, back up, out of my lungs. It is entirely possible that the inside of my mouth, where they took the temperature, was colder.
That's why the doctors like to do rectal,
internal body
because
temperature.
it's better for your internal temperature.
Quite likely, yeah.
More accurate.
Yeah, more accurate. Yeah, that's why they would try.
But even so,
yeah.
Even so, I did have it
That's what
right
I
below
tell
the
my
freezing point
patients.
of water. I don't remember what the exact reading was anymore. I used to remember. Now I don't recall what the exact number was. The highest they managed to read it that day was 46 degrees Fahrenheit.
From you or outside air? Oh, from you.
No,
okay.
from oral temperature reading. Yeah, the highest they managed to get it was 46 degrees. That was quite a few readings later, and they
got lower.
They finally decided I must actually be that cold.
Dak, do you like to dance? Do you like to dance?
Yeah, but I can't do it as well as I used to.
Yeah, okay. Dance, Dak.
No thanks.
God damn it, Dak.
Give it a try, Dak.
God damn it. Come on, Dak.
Come
on, Dak.
Do it.
What the fuck, Dak? Boo.
Amen.
Well, praise God. That was a great
Hallelujah.
According to the Hiking Authority, humans freeze to death when their internal body temperature drops below 70 degrees. It's possible to freeze to death in 40-degree temperatures, but that's rare.
Facts.
Who is that? Is that Siri or is that
Siri.
Alexa? I mean,
I'm here to demolish Dak.
Well, let's see. There is a recorded survived body temperature of 56.7 degrees Fahrenheit, which is below that Siri level where a person will die. So
yeah, but you said 30 though.
Yep. Well, I think it was about 30, 29, 28, something like that. Again, I don't recall the exact number. I used to recall it. I've had no reason to really remember
how long
it.
ago? How long ago was it?
Everybody stop right there.
I think 1982.
Everybody stop right there.
Like 40 years ago. Okay.
Your body temperature. Your body temperature.
Listen. I just want to get
his body temperature got to 30 degrees.
Something like that.
He doesn't find a good reason to document it.
No, I didn't find a good reason to document it. Yep, that's me.
Okay, but you understand then when you ask other people for evidence, like when you make extreme.
Well, I don't
claims
care.
like that.
I don't care if anybody knows that it happened. I mean, to me, it's just the thing that happened in my life. I've been through a lot of things in my life, and I know there are stories out there about things I've been through. Some of them have evolved into myths where there's stuff added to them.
Oh man.
And a lot of the stuff I've actually been through is so unbelievable that I don't expect anybody. I don't expect anybody's going to really know the myths from the reality, because the reality is stranger than the myths.
Exactly the same thing you're saying about the Bible.
Liar, pants on fire.
No, I'm saying the Bible's God is impossible. That's different.
They could have said, here, Dak, hold my beer, keep my beer cold.
If it was just a matter of the Bible's God having done some unbelievable stuff, I'd be like, okay, so the Bible's God did some unbelievable stuff. So I don't believe the stuff. Doesn't mean the character isn't true. I wouldn't have to necessarily disbelieve the stuff either. I just wouldn't really know whether it was true or not. I mean, like the story of Jesus with the loaves and fishes.
Absolutely.
Not really all that unbelievable. It's a decent magic trick, but I mean, I've got no reason to believe it. I've got no reason to disbelieve it. It's just, it's just a story.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I think. Hilarious.
Listen.
You guys are having fun with that, aren't you?
I think it's hilarious that you make all these claims with zero evidence, but then you want to turn around and be the skeptic.
Well,
That's
I'm
hilarious.
also not asking anyone to believe them.
You sound like you sound.
I wasn't making them as
you sound like quite skeptic though, Demolish.
I wasn't making them as claims. I was just stating things that I know to be factual. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't care whether anyone else believes them or not. They're facts to me.
So
because I've been through them.
So KO, Amy, James, we're all talking on here. He's making these claims as a skeptic, but has zero evidence to back it up. It is a bit ironic, isn't it? Can I still look at him as a trustworthy skeptic when he's asking us to all be skeptical about all these other claims while making these big-headed claims and having zero demonstration?
I'm not saying you shouldn't be skeptical about my claims as well. I would encourage being skeptical about them. And
I am.
Since I don't have any evidence to back them up, it would make sense not to believe them. That would be the sensible position to take. Now, I know they're true, and I will state that they're true because I wouldn't want to say something that was false, like that they weren't true. And I do have a position on it, but I'm not asking anybody else to believe it.
And guess what, Dak? I have claims that are true, and just because you don't believe they're true, because you don't believe me, doesn't make them not true.
Okay.
On guard.
Okay.
That's gotta hurt.
Oh, well, sorry if it hurt.
I missed.
Wasn't meant to. What's that?
He doesn't have very thick skin.
Who?
That's gotta hurt.
It's not me.
KO.
It's not me.
It's not me.
We're doing some science then.
I stepped away real quick. What happened?
Yahweh was.
I don't know, but whatever it was, apparently it's gotta hurt.
Mike.
I encourage a healthy level of skepticism because it's healthy.
Listen though.
That they want you to be skeptical about. But then as soon as they start sharing shit that means something to them and applies to their own personal life, then it's just believe it because you believe me and we're cool and don't really
find me a skeptic.
But then when we ask for evidence, there's no evidence. There's no evidence.
Find me a skeptic that actually does that, because I would find that hilarious.
Well, you just did it.
No, I didn't. I absolutely did not.
Come on,
if
the rest of the skeptics here back me up, like that's what just happened. Like, let's be real.
Like I said, there are stories out there about me. Not all of them are true. Some of them have a lot of truth in them, and there are false stuff mixed in. There are literally legends about me, and I'm not expecting you to believe that.
Legends?
You just claimed.
There are legends.
Yes.
You just literally claimed
that either. Again,
in one night, you claimed two stories that are like godlike claims. Like, I can go 20-something days without sleep and not be faded. I can have my body temperature go down to 30 degrees and not die and not be affected, not have brain injuries, not have trauma, anything like
affected.
that.
They wouldn't let me.
Oh, hell, the great Jack. Oh, hell.
You made outrageous claims tonight with no evidence to support it.
Okay.
Cool. So I expect to never hear you arguing with another Christian.
Why is that?
Because of what I just said.
Why? Am I asking you to believe me?
Well, then why would you say all that?
Because it's true. I'm not asking you to believe it.
Exactly.
Stuff that came up in conversation, and I stated it because it's true.
But what if they're not asking for you to believe them either?
Well,
they're
then
telling a story.
Then okay.
Do you feel the need to say anything to them about it?
Well, it depends on the situation. Probably not.
So I believe what I believe is that I was at the top of the mountain the other day after a number of days without sleeping. This bush caught on fire, and a god talked to me through that bush.
I've read a story very similar to that one.
That's pretty, unusual.
So yeah, if you've been through something like that, you might not be alone in that.
It changed my life.
Okay.
And I think I might have met God.
And I have no reason to either believe nor disbelieve that story.
Well, I told a few people, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna start maybe I think we met God. I met God, and
but we have some bad hombres here.
Well, if you can find your spot, if you can find your way back to the spot where you found him, maybe you can invite him to come on the show.
All right, so here, Kale.
Listen. All right, listen, man.
Listen.
I'm just trying to get a word. Okay?
No, hold on. So,
am I supposed to mute you both or one of you while that's going on or something? Because
I'll tell you,
am I being a bad moderator by not doing this right?
You're fired. You're fired.
KO and I, we're having fun. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
But Amy and James, KO and I will shut up for a second. But as atheists and as KO, shut up. As atheists and skeptics, am I off here? And what I've heard as far as the claims with the temperatures and the positions, and then he wants to want everybody to be skeptical of a God claim, while he's claiming to do like godlike shit, supernatural like shit. Like, am I off?
I recommend being skeptical on any claims
exactly.
that don't have evidence.
You should, exactly. You should have healthy skepticism toward all claims.
Deck. I asked Amy and James. Hold on.
Okay, I'm just agreeing. That's all. I just agreed.
Hey, but I got a little bit of input on that there, Demolish. So what I've heard here tonight is kind of like, it's like judge and jury. It's kind of like, the Bible might say it best, thou shalt, not be judged unless ye judge, or whatever the hell it says. And it seems like, we're passing persecution on to these theists, while we ourselves, we make some claims, man, that seem, abnormally superhuman, kind of godlike, like a Marvel superhero or villain.
Hallelujah.
And I mean, maybe we should just call you Mr. Freeze.
I love this guy over here.
I have a moral question. If you guys kill me for laughter, is it right or wrong?
Huh?
Exactly.
Right?
Women, I will take care of women. I will take care of women. I respect women. I will take care of women.
Liar, pants on fire.
Well, I should probably end this thing soon, because I don't know. Do you guys think I should have another one of these in the morning,
It says another chance for God to come on.
It says death from laughter can also occur if laughing too hard leads to asphyxiation or suffocation.
You can dance to death.
Laughing too hard may prevent adequate breathing or cause a person to stop breathing,
or
depriving their body of oxygen, which can also be induced by blood temperatures below 60 degrees.
Or by pulling out of a woman before you ejaculate.
Yeah.
That will apparently also
that'll also do it.
That is one thing when it comes to hypothermia, that if your body temperature gets down low enough that you have trouble breathing, you can have danger of dying from suffocation because of the lack of breathing.
You're a human beer cooler.
Where if you get colder than that, you might actually not need as much oxygen, and the lack of being able to breathe can be less of an issue. But in my case, I was breathing well. Like I said, I was running on my way there, so I was actually breathing kind of hard when I came in the building. By the time they took my temperature, I wasn't breathing hard anymore. But you know, I was breathing fine.
But why did you go to the hospital?
I wasn't at a hospital. It was a school. Now I think I hadn't really even thought about where it was. It's a Catholic school. It's called Holy Name School. It is. Oh, can I remember the location? It's in,
I'm going to break it down.
It's in Escanaba, Michigan.
Elementary school.
Huh?
Wait a second.
I'm not sure what grades the school is. It's a school though, but you know they were doing they were doing a blood bank thing, and I went to donate blood, and
that's where they check your temperature.
I ran from home to there. It is, I think, like roughly half a mile run.
That's Upper Michigan, the peninsula.
Yeah, that's Upper Michigan.
Upper
It was something like 40 degrees below zero at the time, and I ran there. Took my shirt off on the way because I felt hot. Like I said, when I got there, I still felt hot.
How long was the
from
run?
sprinting?
I bet you did.
How long was what?
How long is the run? Like a 10-minute run, 5-minute run?
I don't know time wise. Like
He said, "Hold my beer."
I think it's about a half a mile. If you want to check the distances on the map, if you look it up, it's in Escanaba, Michigan. The school is across the street from. It's on the north south. It's on the south side of the street, across the street from, if it's still there, Lakeview Cemetery. And
at least you were close by.
So I don't. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I don't know the address of either of those two things, but it's Holy Name School, Holy Name High School, if I recall correctly. I believe it's a high school. And Lakeview Cemetery is across the street from it. It's on the south side of the street. The school is
south side of Chicago.
And the house I was running from was at 1806 First Avenue South.
I'm in no condition to write that down, but maybe later on I'll check back.
First Avenue South and South 18th Street in Escanaba, Michigan.
He's cheapest.
From 18th Street, I would have ran to, I believe, 1 block over to 19th Street, and then taken a left on 19th Street, run up to the edge of the cemetery, because the cemetery is in the way there. So run up to the south corner of the cemetery, and then turn to the right, and like, I don't know, half a block, something like that. So
did you have heat in your home, or was that where you got kicked out?
I believe I still had heat in my home at that time. Yes, as a matter of fact, I wasn't really dressed very warm, and when I heard about the blood bank, I didn't know how much time I had to get there, and I didn't want to get there late, so I didn't bother to dress warm. I just took off because I figured it's a short run.
You had no shirt on the whole way, or just like half the way?
What's that?
You took your shirt off like halfway there?
I'm not sure at what point.
At some point.
I was sprinting, and I was sweating, and just took the shirt off.
See, now we're getting hot.
I was sweating in like 40 degrees below
Amy's
zero,
getting hot,
which is not a safe thing to do, because sweat freezes your
wait
skin.
a second, you lost your home, and you've been sleeping outside in the cold.
No, I hadn't lost my home. I was still living
a different time, I think.
That is the same house.
And your blood temperatures are below 70 degrees, or even 56 degrees. They're actually
30.
below 30 degrees. And
I don't know if it was below 30 or at 30. I don't recall. But it was below 32.
You were running to get blood.
There's
like
no
you
way.
just wanted to go get some blood.
I was running to get blood.
Like you were like, hey,
which I ended up failing at. They wouldn't let me do because
I got no worries
in
my life right now. I'm so free-minded. I got no worries. I'm such a Jeebus that I'm going to go get some blood.
Well, praise God. Praise Jesus. Give blood.
Yeah, they would not let me give blood because
I
supposedly had severe hypothermia.
They won't take mine either because of my back surgery. So.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't. I can't buy into somebody telling me that they were at 30 degrees body temperature. And
I wouldn't expect you to. Heck, I mean, if I hadn't lived through it, I probably wouldn't believe it. I can't imagine I would believe it.
I don't think you have. I think you've told yourself that. I don't think that happened.
I don't think I would have any reason to disbelieve it either, because it doesn't defy the laws of physics as I know them or anything like that.
What?
It would seem unlikely. You know, it would seem unlikely, and it is an unlikely thing. But I've been through it, so I know it's real. And you know, that's just
And
me.
that's what I'm saying. You know how many Christians say exactly what you just said, and you don't believe them?
Yeah, they
Like
say
when they
things
feel
like
the Holy
they
Spirit
know God
come
is real
upon them
because
and in
they
them,
talk to him in their head.
they feel the
And
Spirit.
here I am. And here I am.
They
Like,
hold their
for-
hands
you
up
know,
in
for just that
church.
reason.
They sing.
Because if their God is only real in their head,
But
Dak, listen, Dak,
then it's probably not
the
really real.
whole thing tonight. You've said so many things tonight that I've had these personal experiences that I don't care if you believe them or not. I don't care if you ever believe me. I don't care if you ever get to see the evidence. Blah, 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 blah. But then when Christians give that to you, you're borderline insulting them. That no, I can't do that, and I can't believe that, and blah 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 blah. So it's like
Why should they? Okay,
you gotta be even. You gotta be even, bro. Like if you're gonna do that, you gotta be even.
Got a question
No,
about
I'll stop. Hold on.
Okay,
I'll stop. But you got to be consistent. You got to be
I am consistent.
You can't. You're not. You're not at all.
I am.
You're not at all. No, bro.
100%.
You're not. You're not at all. Zero.
Absolutely
none.
am. Why are you arguing with me?
You can't say that I had a body temperature of 30 degrees and I lived.
Again, I'm not sure what the
tell
exact
about it.
temperature was. It was below 32.
Okay, so below 32 degrees, that's dead.
No, that's
dead, deadly.
No, that's cold.
30 or 31.
It's very cold.
Okay, Deck, it's dead. It's dead. Like, go do your research. It's dead.
I'm not dead.
No, because it didn't happen. It didn't happen, or you
It did happen. Yeah.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
Absolutely
because
did.
You don't. But you don't have evidence. So because you don't have evidence, it didn't happen.
It did happen.
Right? But it did. See, you're proving my point right now.
No, I'm not proving your point.
Not.
Because I'm not asking. Because I'm not asking you to believe it.
Does anybody else hear what I'm
I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm simply disagreeing with your claim because I know the answer to the claim.
What?
And you don't.
But
exactly, you sound like a Christian. Absolutely, Dak. Absolutely, you sound like a
Quite
Christian.
possible.
No, it's not quite possible. It is what it is.
Okay, and when they tell me that they believe their God is real, and I tell them I don't believe their God is real, I don't see any difference there because I'm not asking you to believe what I said.
No,
I know it's true. I'm not asking you to believe it.
But what you're going to do, and you always do, is tell your little God to, tell your God to come down and talk to us, or show us evidence, or do those
I didn't
things.
say that. No, I did not do that.
No, Dak, you do it all the time.
No,
bro.
I didn't do that.
You need to get some sleep. You need to get some sleep, man.
No, I've invited the gods to show up if they want to show up, and I've asked them to invite their gods to show up. And if they want to make that invitation, they can. And if the gods want to show up, they can. And just as I would not expect you to believe something that is difficult to believe without evidence to back it up, I don't expect them. I don't expect them to. I just expect me to believe things that are difficult to believe with no evidence to back them up.
James and Amy, with the conversation.
Hey, listen though. Listen.
Stop. James, Amy, am I off? Am I off in that comparison? Because that's exactly what he claims is now he's denying. Am I off?
You're holding his feet to the fire. It's healthy skepticism, but
yeah, you're off.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing story, so you should be properly skeptical, and then if you can show evidence, or
yeah.
I mean, I guess he's not asking the medical textbooks to be rewritten, so that's probably good.
Real question. Okay, so you said that there were more amazing stories that you could prove.
Well, I didn't say I could prove. I said I could present evidence. I do have evidence. I do have documentation.
Okay,
from
you
some,
got documentation for things that. Okay, so you could prove you got documentation of things that you've done that are more miraculous
I didn't say miraculous. No,
more.
I just said even harder to
That
believe.
are more harder to believe. There you go.
At least I would think harder to believe.
Than 30 plus days without sleep or body temperatures below 30. I would really like. Let's honestly. Okay, let's see one of them. Just one.
God
Just
damn
one.
it.
Just one.
Fucking KO. I was trying to go to bed. God damn it.
Not sure where it is right now.
Oh, that's
my apartment is a bit in shambles at the moment. I rearranged a bunch of stuff to set this thing up to do this live stream, so I'm not sure where it is right now.
That's funny.
But the documentation I was talking about is in my passport, which is now expired, but has the stamps on it from when I traveled across Central America, across Mexico and Central America twice, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff involved in that. I
want to adventure time. Adventure time. Let's go.
Yeah. But
adventure time. I mean, give us a story. Give us a story, man. I want to hear a story. Let's go. Adventure time.
It's late. I'd rather get going and pick this up on the next.
That's what she said.
Yeah. It really is. I hadn't intended to run this long, and. Besides, I got to save something for another time. I mean, I'm going to run out of interesting stuff, right?
Well, no. In Deck, you will see me again. But that's.
I don't even see you now.
You'll see the demolished deck.
Oh,
again
okay.
And again.
Well, I see the sign. Yeah.
And again and again, because I'm always going to confront the claim, or I'm sorry, the request for evidence, but then when challenged, not have the adequate evidence to back up your claims. So just like tonight.
Well, I'm not asking anybody to believe those either. I could tell you that I'm holding up, two fingers on my right hand right now too.
Okay, whether you asked us to believe them or not.
You want evidence that I'm holding up two fingers on my right hand? Because you know what? I could show you two fingers held up on my right hand, and that wouldn't even prove to you that I was at the time I said it.
You presented them. Then you also engaged and said, "Oh, I have other stories that are more unbelievable than that." Then when asked for evidence to support.
Well, I do have the documentation. It's around here somewhere. I'm not sure where it is.
All of a sudden, I don't know where it's at. And all of a sudden,
demolish for real, real quick.
No, seriously, I don't know where it is right now.
Listen though. Okay. Dak, seriously, listen. Obviously, you're not obligated to give us anything. But serious question. You were going to spend the time to find this documentation. Once you found it, you were going to read it to us and show us proof of feats.
Again, not proof, only documentation.
Okay, you were going to read to us and show us documentation that was was a greater feat than having had body temperatures below 30 degrees.
No, only documentation associated with it. It's not documentations of what I've been through or what happened.
Well, you were going
to, like I said, it's just my passport.
But this is my question.
It's just my passport with the stamps in it saying where I've been, which could have been done another way.
You were willing to do that, and you were going to read this and show it to us. But you're not willing to just give us an Adventure Time story? Come on, man.
Adventure Time story.
Maybe
another time.
Did you hear what he just said, though?
Which portion?
He said... So remember, the two stories we heard was his body temperature was 32, maybe lower, but 32 degrees, which I've Googled, I've done research since we've been on here. That's dead. Like you're dead.
It was below 32. I do recall that much because that was the statement the statement that they made when they first looked at it is that can't be right.
Sherlock Holmes mystery.
Yeah,
and actually,
so that's dead. And then
that's what they said. Really,
you
should be dead.
The other.
Hey, you two, shut up for a minute. Amy, what's up?
Oh no, I want to listen to you guys, but I'm making food and in sweatpants anyway. So Zoe, KOC champ, Donald, it has been fun. Thank you for having me on, and I'll be watching you guys.
All right, lady. Good night.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say this. I'm going to get off too. It's 5 o'clock in the morning here.
I really should. I really
Hey,
should get over here and get some sleep.
Hold on.
I need to sleep. I really do.
Hold on. I come back to my original thing. Okay, you were going to find that paperwork if it were behind you, I suppose. Which you knew it wasn't behind you.
No,
but
I'm
you
not
were
sure
gonna
where
get
it is. I'm not sure where it last was. I was thinking it was either over there or on that table, but that table's been completely cleaned off.
You were going to find it, and you were going to grab it. Okay, if it was behind you, you were going to grab it. You were going to show us, and you were going to read it to us. That was your plan of action.
Not really read, just show, just flip through some pages. And
we just want to hear a story, man. Before you go, just give us one story.
No, KO. That's what I was trying to tell you.
Well, not right now because they're really long stories.
But you were going to read us the story, so
I wasn't going to read it. But I mean, I don't really care to tell the stories either. But if you really want me to, I could do that sometime. But not right now because we've been on here a long time already.
Go ahead.
And they are long stories. I mean,
what I was going to say is before he just said all that. He said, "Well, all I was going to show you was my passport and show you all the places I've been." Well, that means nothing. The
places, the times, the stamps on them. What I can of it, and a lot of that's faded anyway. So even kind of hard.
How have you? Look, if I'm Amelia fucking Earhart and I fucking circled the goddamn globe, I would believe that over somebody's body temperatures being below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, or somebody not sleeping.
But that's why I said it's only stuff associated with the things I've been through. Because the stuff I've been through is
how is that more unbelievable? That was your original thing, though. How is that more unbelievable?
Some of it I don't even know if it's really safe for me to talk about. But I've been through a lot on those trips. Specifically, especially the last one, the second of the two trips.
This is when we get into this is when we get into bullshit. So let's just call it a night, and that way we don't have any hard feelings or anything going into any of the conversations.
I don't have any hard feelings. Sad that no gods showed up for this episode. I mean, I tried to get the invitations out there, but
Dak, that is where I will say that passive aggressive, narcissistic bullshit. Like I'm not cool.
Not
with that.
being passive, not being aggressive, and not being narcissistic.
That is
stating a fact.
Dak, that is passive aggressive at its elementary definition. What you just did right there, because everything we just talked, you can roll your eyes, you can say nope, you can do all of those things that you want to do and say right now. Yeah, and you're giggling because it's true.
No, because it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny because it's true.
No, it's funny because you're accusing me of being passive aggressive because I just stated a fact.
Yeah, and that's why you keep laughing. You keep giggling. That's what passive aggressive natures do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what? Your point? I stated a fact. Is that what passive aggressive natures do too?
You didn't say you've yet to state a fact all night. All night.
Oh,
You've yet to state a fact all night.
Okay.
So
see these?
No, I don't see anything.
Okay. Well, they're my reading glasses. That's a fact.
How do we know? Do you got a prescription?
I do have a prescription, but these aren't the prescription ones.
Okay,
this pair is the prescription ones.
Dak, congratulations! Congratulations! That is the first thing even close to evidence.
And I think I actually know where the prescription is. I'm not sure.
No. You can stop there. That was the most evidence you've given in all your absurd claims tonight.
Yep.
So we'll end it there.
We'll agree.
And we'll pick back up another night. So KO, great to chop it up with you tonight. Dak, great to chop it up with you. And I'm out. It's 5 a.m. I got kids to get to school tomorrow. I'm out.
Yeah, it's 5 a.m. here as well.
Yep.
All right. Well, yeah, that's been interesting. Gonna end the broadcast then.
All right, Dak. You have a good night, man.
Yeah, you too. Take care.